Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about as your Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to the Kansas City Chiefs 30-24 in overtime. The same things can be said over and over about this team, right? We continue to talk about it. This defense is not able to get off the field. They got gashed tonight. They got absolutely dominated by the Chiefs there late in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Could not stop Kareem Hunt. The staple of this defense is to stop the running game. They haven't been able to do it, period. We know that Patrick Mahomes, the challenges that are going to come with him, he's going to be able to be mobile. He's going to make things happen. The middle of the field is wide open. KJ Britt is still playing somehow on that last drive throughout late in the game. Josh Hayes is playing in this game. I get it. There's injury situations, but at this point, I'd rather see Isaac Hayes play in this game because he was terrible tonight. I get it. Jamel Dean is out. I get it. The Bucs team is beat up. But your offense gives you a chance at the end of the game. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. They go down and tie the game. I've defended Todd Bowles forever now. I continue to get inbox after inbox after inbox. I'm open to that. I don't necessarily think this is all on him, if you will. I don't. And I'm going to get out to the phone calls here in just a moment. Excuse me. But at a certain point, don't you have to go for it with the 2-point conversion? Don't you have to give your team that chance? I mean, when do you start to not be conservative? You call a timeout at 30 seconds, 33 seconds, something along the lines. It seemed like Bulls panicked. You got plenty of time at that point. Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense have no business having the ball at the end of the game. No business. Antoine Winfield nearly has an interception. The defense does their job. And then, of course, it's predictable because the defense is gassed. They have been thoroughly dominated all night long when it comes to the running game. They weren't able to stop them. Mahomes goes right down the field. As my good buddy Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy would say, they matriculate the ball down the field. They have no pass rush, whether they're playing zone, whether they're blitzing, whether they're playing zero blitz. It's not helping. It's not working. Nothing worked there in that fourth quarter, especially in overtime. You knew it was going to happen. Why not go for that 2-point conversion? When does, being conservative basically cost your job? And listen, I'm not saying the guy's going to lose his job after this loss. Because with all the Bucs injuries and everything that they had to go through, what a hell of an effort that they were in this game. That Baker Mayfield is able to lead them down. That Cade Otton steps up and has stepped up the last 2 games for this team. That Sterling Shepard played his ass off tonight without Jalen McMillan. Trey Palmer making some plays. I mean, can you fault the coaching staff when you have 3 guys around? You get pressure on Mahomes and somebody can't make a play? Is that on Todd Bowles? No. But how many third downs tonight did the Chiefs accomplish? We talked about this stuff last year with the third down defense. Not able to get off the field. Not able to get it done. And excuses are kind of running out at this point. Right? You're 4-5. You're possibly looking at 4-6. You have an opportunity. This team is still playing hard. They're not giving up. But if you have an opportunity to go for the 2-point conversion, believe in your offense. What do you have to lose? Go down swinging. You did it all night long. You kick the extra point. And then, of course, you lose the coin toss. And what happened in Atlanta happens tonight on Monday Night Football, which, by the way, the Bucs, with their record on prime time, what is it now, 8-11? It's not good. You got to do something different. Why is KJ Britt still playing? We saw JJ Russell play tonight. He should be playing the whole game. Look for somebody else. Why is Josh Hayes still playing? I get it. You have injuries to Jamel Dean. When do you make some changes? Is that coaching malpractice? We saw that last year with Devin White. When finally you sat him down and you put in Britt, and then it changed your defense around. Like, you continue to do the same things over and over again. And it's frustrating, I know, to be a Bucs fan, because I'm sitting there watching it. And it's like a slow death. You just know it's going to happen. It reminds me of being a Bucs fan back in the orange and creamsicle days, right? Bucs get the lead. You start to feel good about things. And then, boom, just like that, the other team comes back and wins the game. We used to call that self-destruct Bucs. That defense was gassed. You got no business at that point. Go for the 2-point conversion. I want to hear from you tonight. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Was it all bad? No, of course not. That's the disappointing thing about it. There's so many things that are good about this team, but at the end of the day, you would have to say that Todd Bowles, to a certain degree, is holding this team back. Let's go out to the phone lines. Eric, welcome to the Evolution. What's your thoughts?
What's up? Bring your excitement, bring your passion, and don't bring no nonsense.
Absolutely, my friend. What are your thoughts on the game? Should he have gone for the 2-point conversion?
First of all, the Tristan Wirfs face mask, that was not a flag.
Well, listen, you're not going to steal my thunder on this, because the NFL needs to have an investigation, because at this juncture, I don't know what a face mask is or what a holding call is. Did Tristan Wirfs... Hold on. I know what you're saying. Tristan Wirfs, because at that point, that's a big penalty in the game, because the Bucs are driving, and then you got 1st and 25, and it's not even a face mask. Maybe it's a holding, but how can the refs call that play and then miss last week's obvious face mask on Baker Mayfield, and also miss the call on Bucky Irving on Thursday Night Football? And people will go, you know what it is? It's Kansas City Chiefs. Was it holding? Yes, it was, Travis Faley. It absolutely was holding.
65 was holding too. They missed that call too. And number 65 on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Look, I'm not going to put this all on the refs, but this comes down.
To give some blame too. Todd Bowles was to get the 4th down. We should have went for a 4th down.
Everybody gets blame on this. Everyone gets blame. Even the offense tonight.
Not the offense should get no blame.
And offense gets blame on this too. Offense definitely gets the whole team. It's a whole team law. We're not going to sit here and point fingers, but you could definitely point some fingers to the defense not being able to get off the field tonight. And you can also point some fingers at Todd Bowles. Eric, stand by here. Okay. Ed, stay online here. I'm going to finish up with Eric, and then I'll come out to you. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Here we go. Let's go out to Eric. Go ahead and finish up.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
We can't blame Vita tonight. We can't blame Winfield, because some players we cannot blame.
No, you can blame. You can definitely blame the defense. You know why I can blame the defense? Because you have 3 guys around, and DeAndre Hopkins, who's done nothing at all, has 3 guys that are not going to make a play on that. Don't even make it. Looks like Antoine Winfield Jr. is trying to make an interception instead of knocking the ball down. Is that Todd Bowles' fault? No, because he's putting the players in that position. Guys got to make plays, and they're not making plays right now. So he
wanted the pick, not the deflection. He wanted the pick, though.
But that's the problem right now. Guys got to make plays. When you got 3 guys around DeAndre Hopkins, somebody has to either knock the ball down or knock him out and make sure that he doesn't make that catch. And I get it. You give credit to Mahomes. You give credit to DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the day. But it's just it's inexcusable. Is that on Todd Bowles?
Question for you. Do you think we should have another fumble? We should have had another fumble in this game. We should at least have another fumble.
No, there was no other fumble.
Do you know when he caught the ball, when the player caught the ball, do you think that was incomplete pass? You know what I'm talking about?
I know the Kelsey play, which was a fumble. That was a fumble. I don't know the other. I don't know the other one. Eric, I gotta run, my friend. All right, let me go out to Ed here. Ed, go ahead. Your thoughts on the Bucs losing to the Kansas City Chiefs 30-24 in overtime?
Heartbreaker.
It is. I mean, it's a heartbreaker. But and look, the national media didn't think this team had a chance. The Bucs
Nope.
fan base, predominantly the majority of it, didn't think this team had a chance. They played
Nope.
their asses off. The injury situation was there with losing your 3 top wide receivers. And at that point, if you got nothing to lose in your Todd Bowles, why not go for that 2-point conversion? Have faith in your offense. Have faith in Baker Mayfield. Do something different instead of being conservative all the time. Be aggressive. Are you there?
Yeah, I just lost you for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Todd Bowles. I mean, he's the conservative guy, but at some point you got to be unconservative. You got to go against your philosophy, you know. But this is the coach that we got, and I'm sorry, he's not going to get us to the promised land until he starts taking a few chances. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, you know, they should have made a move at the trade deadline. They should have made a move. I'm sorry, you got to do something. Something's better than nothing.
Well,
I mean, granted, they weren't going to get anybody that was going to, guarantee them a Super Bowl win, but at least it was better than not doing anything.
Well, it takes 2
Now
to
they got
tango.
no depth at the wide receiver position.
I mean, you have to give up. You're going to have to give up multiple picks, possibly, or you're going to have to give up premium picks at the end of the day in order to get one of these players out there. They're not just going to give you anybody. And then you look at this team right now. Do you really think they're in Super Bowl contention with all the injuries they have? I mean, the reality of the situation, they played hard tonight, but are they okay? So if you're not in Super Bowl contention and you feel like the season could be lost, maybe you make the playoffs, maybe you win the division if Atlanta falters. But right now it looks like Atlanta's not going to falter. They're in the driver's seat and they also have 2 games on the Bucs. Why would you give up premium picks when you know a season is basically lost at this point?
So if the season is basically lost,
I mean, it's looking like it's lost, isn't it? I mean, the second half of the year will favor them, but the injury situation, I mean, the defense is consistently bad on third down. The defense is not able to get off the field. The defense is not able to stop the running game. Again, and then you're down all your offensive weapons, and then you have coaching once again, which we have talked about ad nauseum for the last 2 to 3 years when it comes to clock management issues, when it comes to going for something, when it comes to game situational football. That's what it comes down to, the matchups, game situations. That's what separates the good from the great to the elite teams, correct?
Yeah,
okay.
And what is that? Who's that on?
That's on Todd Bowles.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying it's all on Todd Bowles, but, for me, I don't understand if you go down, your offense gives you a chance to win the game. Why not go for the 2-point conversion when you're on the road? Why not go for, because you and I know the defense is gassed. The defense, the fourth quarter there, you got plays of 12 plays for 70 yards. And another 78-yard drive, 15 minutes of total possession time by the Chiefs. They're punching you in the mouth. Vita Vea it can't even stand up. He's 340 pounds. It's raining. They're gashing you. Go for the win. If you don't get the win, what are you going to say? Well, he shouldn't have gone for the 2. He should. No, because you know that defense is gassed, that if you lose the toss, you have no chance to win, right?
I would have had a ton of more respect for him if he would have won for it.
Exactly. All right, Ed, what else?
So they play the 49ers next week. Is there any chance that we'll have Mike Evans back? Because I believe that if we would have had Mike Evans today, we might be talking about it.
I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening at this point. I don't see it happening. They're not going to risk it. It's going to be at least a couple weeks until he comes back. And then when he comes back, we'll see, what percentage he's at. But they're not going to take any chances because you don't want to lose Mike Evans for that second half run. They still have an opportunity to make that second half run because you have the Saints who fired their coach today. You have Carolina twice. You have the Giants. But I don't care what team you have at the end of the day. If you're not able to get off the field on third down and teams are able to convert those third. And listen, the Chiefs are coming in. They're top of the NFL when it comes to third down percentage. But still, if you're not able to get off the field on third down.
They're putting them at third and long.
Third and long, and you're not able to get off. You're not able to get off. They're not able to get off the field. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
I mean, what can you do? I mean, what else can you do? I mean, it's very disheartening to a defense that can't stop anybody on third down when they're third and long.
Whether it's zone defense, whether it's coming with blitzes, whether it's a non-tackling, which we've seen. I mean, it's disappointing. Again, there were guys tonight that had great games. Vita Vea had an unbelievable game. 2 sacks, I believe, like 8 tackles or 10 tackles for the game. He had Kalijah Cansey, who had 2 sacks. I mean, they got after Mahomes tonight. But there's other things where, going back to it, where Mahomes is clearly pressured. He has pressure in his face. You've got 3 guys in the area, and they don't make a play. Let's go out. Ed, thanks a lot for the call. Use your second call if you want to.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's go out to Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment here on the Sports Web late night edition, your post-game edition here after the Bucs lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 30-24 in overtime. Give me your thoughts, Travis. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Pete. And I'm going to make this quick because I know you're getting a lot of other callers and etc. But you just said it right there. The fact that they could not get off the field on 3rd down is the exact reason why you go for 2.
Yeah.
Baker just led a precision surgical drive down the field. They had no idea what they were doing offensively. I'm talking Kansas City's defense. There's no reason that touchdown that they scored, they had no clue. There was no reason to set up in a run-stop defense when they gave up the touchdown,
Yep.
the 1 point right before.
Sure.
They had no idea. There was no reason for them to try to stop the run on that. They should have been looking play action the whole way because of the fact the Bucs had no timeouts. And if they get stopped, they're going to have a hard time, getting the next play set, the whole 9 yards.
Sure.
But Pete, it's an opportunity lost. I think Bowles made a huge mistake by not going for 2 and trying to steal a win in Kansas City, but all is not lost because this schedule coming up after the 49ers game, if they can beat the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey's supposed to be back, but he's still going to be banged up. He's not going to be 100%.
Right.
The Bucs do have a chance, but they've also had a ton of problems stopping the passing game. And what do the 49ers do with that set of wide receivers and that tight end and Kittle? They're going to have problems in that regard, but they do have a chance. The home game, they do have a chance to win that. They go into their bye, I believe, and then the rest of the schedule, other than maybe a revived Dallas game, is a cakewalk. But if you look at what Dallas is doing, they're last or next to last in all defensive categories in the league at this point. But Pete, I think you're doing a great job, and I know I'm not trying to kiss your ass in any capacity, but this community today lost some major players in the radio industry and in the radio business over at 620 and iHeart. And I think they missed a golden opportunity, and they might still have their jobs if they would have hired you at one point. And that guy is obviously John Mamula and Jay Rutcher and other people lost their jobs today. So anyways, everybody out there, radio is a dirty game. And that's why I'm glad you're not in it, Pete.
Thanks, Travis Faley, and I appreciate that, and you're exactly right, and that's why I always say, look, I love radio, I love television, I've been in both, but at the end of the day, this is the evolution of sports talk television, and the great thing is that you're not bowing down to corporate radio, you're not losing your job. I've lost my job. It's tough. It stinks. At least you have control, and I appreciate the compliments as always. I just try to do, I try to do what Chris Thomas did. I try to do what Steve Dumick did. I try to do what, I heard JP Peterson. I listen to those guys, the great TJ Reeves. I listen to those guys and the yesteryear. And I just try to emulate everything they've done in the past and bring that here and kind of put my own little, spin on it, my own style on it. And I'm glad everybody likes it because this is what I love to do. This is what we do here on the Sports Web. We talk about it. I know it's a downtime because right now the Bucs are 4-5, but I will be the eternal optimist for a moment because, there's 2 things I can be on this show. I can be a psychologist or I can be a psycho. And I've been a psycho before. I'm going to be a psychologist for a moment. This Bucs team last year was 4-7, and they made a run and won the NFC South. Now, every year isn't the same. There's different circumstances at this point, but you're exactly right. That second half of the schedule is definitely favorable. If you get back Evans, if they start to play defense, but Todd Bowles, and I've defended him over and over again, and it just pains me because whether it's the timeout situation where you're not calling enough timeouts or game management where it looked like he panicked tonight, or once again going for the 2-point conversion and having confidence in your team to do that when you know that your defense at the end of the day is basically wiped out, is just mind-numbing. And it's tough for me to sit here on this show in front of this camera and defend him when clearly he messed up tonight and has messed up in the past. And I feel like if that continues, he's going to definitely cost this team some wins. Is it all on Todd Bowles? No, it's not. But you definitely he has to shoulder the blame tonight. Travis, I appreciate the call, man. Anything else here on the Evolution?
Yeah, Pete, if KC would have went down and scored and won on a game-winning field goal because of that timeout, Bowles not only would be getting killed for not going for two, but he'd also be getting extremely killed, not only tonight on your show, but moving forward this week for horrendous clock management again. And you're seeing it on a regular basis with these defensive-minded coaches. And I'm dealing with it in Chicago, which is just an utter disaster. And Matt Eberflus should have been fired today, but the Bears are just the Bears, and it's horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why general managers and owners are going away from defensive-minded coaches, because at the end of the day, they're only going to get you so far. Yes, defense wins championships, but the mindset of being conservative, you have to go for it. You have to choke somebody out when you have the opportunity, especially on the road. Travis, thanks a lot for the call, man. Appreciate you as always. All right. Love your boss.
Absolutely, Pete. Love you too, pal.
All right. Let's go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Peter, Jeremy, what's up, my guy?
It's tough, man. It's tough to come on this broadcast because, listen, I could sit here and tell you the Bucs played well, which they did. I could sit here and tell you that there were defensive performances tonight and standouts by Vita Vea and Elijah Cansey. Guys got after it. Zion McCollum. I thought Antoine Winfield made some stops. But then you go back to, Josh Hayes. You go back to KJ Britt. You go back to Travis Kelce, which, by the way, can we not see another freaking cutaway of Kelce and this friggin' love affair with Taylor Swift? Okay, we get it. They're in love. It's awesome. Love is a great thing, but I want to pay attention to the damn game. And by the way, the reason why you're cutting away to that is because every time you look down the middle of the field, like the Atlantic Ocean, there is Travis Kelce. There is a tight end. Guess who's coming to town next week? It ain't Santa Claus. It's the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. So any tight end at this point, whether it's a linebacker, a safety, a corner, I don't care what it is, a defensive lineman, they're going to get free. How in the world is Travis Kelce able to get down in the middle of the field with the pitch and catch? Why is he getting a free release? Why is he getting open? Why are tight ends continuing to get open? These are the questions, and these are the reasons why a lot of the Bucs fan base at this point are calling for Todd Bowles in this job. Do I think it's fair? No, because I think players have to play, but also coaches have to put their players in the correct position. And if you continue to see the same things over and over again, what have we heard here, Jeremy, the last couple of weeks? What have we heard here the last couple of years? Communication falter, communication problems. That's coaching. Obviously, the message is not getting back to these players to correct some of these mistakes that they continue to make.
I will say this, Peter. I'm very proud of the effort they gave tonight. Yes, we lost. I don't want to see our team lose. No one does. At the same time, Bowles, I'm pretty sure a few fans that come on here and told you he should have went for two.
Yeah.
Because obviously the defense was burned out. It was obvious. They were burned out.
It reminds you of the Atlanta game, did it not? Did it not remind you of the Atlanta game where the defense played their hearts out but got dominated and were tired? And is that on the offense? Yeah, it's on the offense. Guess what? Kansas City Chiefs coming in, they're a highly ranked defense. And after the Bucs took the lead 17-10, and Bucs fans are feeling all great about that, guess what? The Chiefs said, you know what? We're going to punch it down your throat. We're going to push it down your throat, and you're going to take it. And they did. Kareem Hunt ran for over 100 yards tonight. That's unacceptable. If your defensive staple is to stop the run, you failed tonight. That's not only on the players, that's also on Todd Bowles. But at the end of the day, it's also on those players. And still, you have veterans on this team that have got to make plays. But also, if you know your defense is getting the ball pushed down their throat, why would you not go for a 2-point conversion? It seems so simple, and yet we sit here and talk about these kind of things all the time, and people wonder why across social media you have fire Todd Bowles, fire Todd Bowles, fire Todd Bowles.
Fans are going to have their opinions. I mean, I will admit, Todd Bowles fumbled tonight. He did. He should have went for 2, knowing that it's Patrick Mahomes who has picked apart your defense throughout the night. And let's face facts, Jordan Whitehead is not the same player we all hoped he would be.
I think that's a good assumption. Yes.
I'll throw it out there. And yes, KJ Britt is not a 3 or 4 down linebacker. He's not.
I don't think he's a linebacker in this league. I'm sorry. I don't think he's a linebacker in this league. He's been disappointing. He's not a good tackler. He's not good in coverage. I'm trying to figure out why he's still playing. If we know this and you've seen this throughout the year, why is this guy still on the field? And a good friend texts me and goes, JJ Russell is on the field. And I'm like, he needs to be on the field for the whole game. Right.
Hallelujah. No, and that's why I was glad. I was at Brick House, and when I saw 51 on the field, I'm like, okay. He's doing something different. He's doing something different finally. He's not staying loyal to his players. And I agree. I know the one I will say is about Tubble. He's a player's coach, which I said many times between the Bucs podcast and also yours, is that, he's a player's coach. He's going to stand for his players. But at the same time, I'm glad he took that chance and put J.J. Russell in. Did it fare well? Yes and no. But at the same time, though, it's obvious that Bowles is right now in a lost cause. But it's never too late to flip the switch. Like you said, we were 4-7 last year.
Yep.
And we came back and we ended up making the playoffs. I mean, division obviously is going to be Atlanta. Obviously, they're going to get it. They can have it, whatever. Because they're not going to get far in the playoffs with Kirk Cousins. But that's a different talk. But at the end of the day, Mahomes did what he did, as any other veteran quarterback would do. You go after your weakness on the defense. The middle, and they went after Josh Hayes. Hayes took a lot tonight, for a guy who, to me...
And by the way, somebody had to explain this to me, because I'm not a coach, but you just, watching football for over 40 years, why is a rookie on DeAndre Hopkins? What kind of matchup is that?
And that's why I wonder, why are they insist on putting Josh Hayes, Thunderbird on Hopkins instead of putting Zion McCollum on the other side? And that goes to show you, and that's what it goes to show you that we need to trade for a veteran corner.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you try to trade for a veteran corner, and I know fans want to trade for that, and they want to go, veteran corners are not growing on trees. You're going to have to give up, a first-round pick or a second-round pick, and I'm just not sure Jason Light wants to go with that. And also, it takes 2 to tango. Not everybody's willing to trade you. People go, well, go after Deontay Johnson. When he's in the division, they traded him to Baltimore for a 5th-round pick. That's a wide receiver. So again, our team's going to trade you what you want. If you don't give them, premium picks, I'm not sure. And I don't know if the Bucs feel like right now, with them being 2 games down to Atlanta, if they're even in contention at this point, because in order for you to make these type of trades, because you look at Detroit, they're making a trade right now. Why? Because they lost Hutchinson. Well, they're 7-1 right now, right? So they lose to the Bucs. They believe they're in Super Bowl contention. They believe that player is going to help them get over the top. Stand by here, Jeremy, for a minute. What's your name? Where you calling from? We're on with Jeremy. We're going to finish up with him. We'll come out to you. What's your name?
Tristan.
All right, Tristan, stand by. We definitely need to talk here. Let's go back out to Jeremy here, finish up, and then we'll get out to Tristan.
All I was going to say is that at this point, we know this team can compete. I'm not saying we're going to win a Super Bowl, but the way the NFC goes, and you mentioned Detroit, let's not forget, the one loss Detroit suffered in the NFC was to who?
Tampa Bay.
The Bucs.
Right, which is so frustrating. Which is so frustrating to look at it.
And that's where I feel like Light needs to get on the phone and make a phone call. I'm not saying to go pull a miracle and go grab an all-pro player, but go grab a guy who's going to help this defense help defend.
Right.
Maybe go out and go get a corner. There's a corner out there. I'm not saying to go get the best one, but maybe go get a one that's a vet who will be a lot better. Because to me, Josh Hayes shouldn't be out there. He should not be starting right now at corner. There's no excuse. I know the win on Jamel Dean to come back from his injury, but we all know how Dean is. We all know he's injury prone. Unfortunately, he can be a good player at times, like Carlton Davis.
Sure.
But let's come to get on the phone and make some phone calls because this team can compete and make the playoffs with our schedule coming up. Even if we lose to the Niners, which we hope we don't, but if we do, we still got a good chance to fight and get into the playoffs. So I say Super Bowl, no, but this team, the Bucs, can compete with anybody in the NFC. Because they beat Detroit to prove it. That's where
the problem right now, and you're exactly right. They have beaten teams in the NFC. They beat Detroit. They beat Philadelphia. They even beat Washington, which, by the way, they're 7-2 right now. They're taking off, and that's the problem. All these teams, they're in the division hunt, but also they could be in the wild card hunt at this point. So it makes it even more difficult. At least you have those tiebreakers, but right now, if you can't get off the field on third down, I don't care, again, what team you are. If your defense is not able to get off the field and make plays on third down, especially third down and long, which we've seen the last couple of years, you're in big trouble. Jeremy, anything else here on the evolution?
I mean, can we admit that Winfield is not the same player he was last year?
Well, he's not the same player. And listen, I don't know if it's I don't think it's a money thing, okay? I don't think he's 100%, right? No. He's fighting injuries. No. It's a foot injury. It's a hamstring, whatever it is. He's not the same player. He's missing tackles. He's missing plays. It's been disappointing. And I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the call, I believe, or somebody else mentioned it and get a chance to talk about it, but Jordan Whitehead has not been the same player. He has not been the same player. And whether it's the tackling, whether it's the coverage, I mean, Josh Hayes is, I don't know what he's doing tonight. Xavier Worthy catches that pass, and he's lucky that his feet are not in bounds, but he looks lost in the sauce. Is he expecting a safety to come over there? Because there was nobody there. No, these are the kind of communication difficulties that are going to continue to cost this team down the stretch. Jeremy, appreciate the call. Use that second one if you like. All right.
No problem, Peter. Take care, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, go Bucs. Absolutely. It's disappointing right now because, again, you look at this team, you hang your hat on the fact that, look, they're definitely injury riddled. They don't have their three top wide receivers. They don't have their top corner. They've been banged up all year long. And you give Kansas City everything that you can handle. Let me go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You're on the Evolution.
What's up, brother? It's Eric White.
Oh, what's going on, Eric? Well, your take on this game, man. For me, it comes down to, once again, that coaching decision. And hold on, Eric, here. Tristan, we're going to go out to Eric. We're going to finish up with him. You got to hold the line, my friend, all right?
Okay, I'm with you.
All right, I got you. All right, Eric, go ahead, man.
Yeah. The whole thing is just disappointing. And look, there's a lot of takeaways, okay? First of all, we had no business in the game given our injuries, right? These are the undefeated 7-0 champs. So the silver lining for me, my optimism said, okay, this could be a trap game that we could easily take advantage of if we don't just relinquish everything on defense. So we stepped up. With that being said, you have the undefeated 7-0 defending Super Bowl champs
on the road
at home.
Yes.
On the road.
Yes.
On their fucking heels.
Yes.
Knowing that offense, knowing how crappy our defense is, we're 31 in the league, I think, and giving up yards with 300 and I think it's 87 yards a game, whatever it is. Like,
it's pitiful.
You go for two.
Yes.
I don't care. And everybody says, well, everybody would have crucified Todd Bowles. How do you not? I would have much rather have gone out in a blaze of glory. I'd have taken that a lot better than losing to a fucking coin toss. And yes, they should change the rules, but we know all these things.
Right.
You go for fucking two. You go for two. Go out in a blaze of glory. You have all the momentum. You came back. You shouldn't even been in the game. They're undefeated. They're the champs. They're 7-0. They're on the road. You go for fucking two. And I'll basically leave it at that. Like, yeah, I know where we were last year, where we are now. Yeah, we got the Niners coming up, and yes, we have an easy second half of the schedule. It really sucks because if we could have pulled this one off, it would have done tremendous amounts of value.
And you had your opportunities tonight. You had your opportunities. You were leading 17-10, but your defense is not able to get off the field. And those are the two drives at the end of the day. 12 plays for 70 yards, and then another drive of 78. I think 13 plays of 78 yards. Your defense is on the field for 15 minutes. Kansas City is telling you, we're going to punch you in the mouth, try to do something about it, and the Bucs couldn't do anything about it. And that's what I don't understand. And people will say that's coaching malpractice. It is to a certain degree, because you know your defense and you're asking your defense, because most likely you're going to lose the coin toss, because that's been the Bucs' luck at this point. You lose the coin toss. It's a stupid NFL rule, but it is the rule. And Kansas City, once again, is going to go down methodically. They'd have big plays, and I had a couple of big plays here and there. You know, Travis Kelce down the middle. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins with 3 players around him. Do you have major big plays tonight? No. The defense, I thought, played and at points in the game very well. Vita Vea played well. Kalijah Kancey. But here is the problem. When you keep your defense on the field for that long, you know that they're gassed at that point. Why not put your confidence in the offense and go for that 2-point conversion? Exactly. And that is what is so frustrating. And I sit here and I say it's not all on Todd Bowles, but a lot of this stuff is on Todd Bowles. And it's the same thing over and over again. And it frustrates a lot of Bucs fans. And I'm open to it. And like I said, I'm going to read your comments. I'm not neglecting you, but the phone calls tonight are frustration. But it's tough, because you did have a point. You had chances to win this game. You saw performances out there by K-Dot, who has stepped up the last couple of weeks. It's all wasted. Baker Mayfield stepping up, throwing for 200 passing yards, not turning over the ball. He had an opportunity early on in the game to have an interception, but gets away with it. But overall, I thought the game plan was sound. They ran the ball enough. They did enough. The defense at times just, again, could not get off the field, and that killed you on third down. Eric, I appreciate the call. Anything else, my friend?
No, brother, keep pushing. That's it. Silver lining is, okay, we got the Niners up next. They're banged up to a certain extent. Everybody is at this point. We got an easy second half of the schedule. It just sucks to see, like you said, everything wasted, because we could have walked away with a huge team morale victory. But it is what it is. We just got to keep pushing, man.
That's it. Keep pushing. You got San Francisco coming in to Raymond James, and we got you covered here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live for your pregame edition there at What the Buck tailgate, of course, before, and then, of course, after at Raymond James Stadium, and, of course, in collaboration with the JP Peterson Show. So, Eric, use that second call if you like to. And, man, have a good night, man. Appreciate the support as always. All right?
Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Tristan, I know you want to call in, so go ahead and call in. Let's go out to some of these comments before then, because, I don't want to neglect you guys. They have to fire Todd at the end of the season. We have the worst defense in the NFL after the game. That is on him. That he has to wear that. Yes. Is it on the players making plays? Yes. Is it on him putting those players in position and not making plays? Yeah, it's on the players, but he has to definitely wear that. Let me go out to this guy right here.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell is the matter with you?
Let's go out to Jim. Welcome to the Evolution.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm trying to explain this because, again, there were more positives in this game that we'll get to. I mean, you look at it, you look at the statistics for the night. Baker Mayfield, efficient, 23 for 31. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, leads them down to tie the game there for a fourth quarter. Running game, it's not the best. I mean, Bucky Irving, 7 for 24. Sterling Shepard, a couple jet sweeps there. But Cade Otton, 8 catches for 77 yards. I mean, the offense, once again, was efficient without 3 of their top guys. And I just continue to go back to this. If you have confidence in your offense, and they go down and score that touchdown, aren't you going for 2, Jim, at the end of it? Aren't you going for that?
Yeah, I think Todd Bowles need to go for 2. And there was a play in the third quarter where Baker got to about it was 4th and 1. He should have went for that one.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people wanted them to go for 4th and 4, and it was the right decision before halftime not to go for it. I thought that was the right decision because your defense at that point is keeping you in the game. It's only 10-7. There are times, again, and you just don't understand it, right? It goes back to last week. You go for a fake punt. It makes no sense. You go for it on 4th down. It makes no sense. I mean, it's not consistent. You know what's consistent? Consistency is being conservative. Consistency is having timeouts before halftime, too many. Consistency is, continuing to have clock mismanagement problems. That's the consistent thing about Todd Bowles. And I sit here on this show, I still believe in Todd Bowles, but then again, the defense is lacking. They're not producing. Guys are not winning one-on-one matchups. If you blitz, you're not able to get there. If you play zone, you're giving up all kinds of, I don't know what the solution is at the end of the day. I mean, it's so easy to say, well, you got to get pressure. You got to do this. You got to do that. They got 4 sacks tonight. They had standout performances by Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey, and they're still not able to make enough plays in this game. And then that's the problem with playing the Kansas City Chiefs coming into it. They're 7-0. You have to nearly play a perfect game. And even when you play a perfect game, there is no guarantee you're going to win. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, he need to get that no risk it, no biscuit, man.
Well, it'd be nice to have a no risk it, no biscuit. You think BA would have gone for that tonight? I definitely think he would have gone for that 2-point conversion.
He probably would have went for that 4th down too.
Right? Why not? Put it out all on the line. You're 4-4. You get that win, you get it, you go home, and you still a win possibly because but the problem is you still have time on that clock. And I understand the Bucs defense was able to get off the field there, but you still leave too much time. People will go back and point to that timeout that you're panicking. I don't understand that call. Why are you calling timeout with that much time on the clock? Run the clock down. Don't give them an opportunity to get the ball back because you've seen Patrick Mahomes in the past. How many fourth quarter comebacks? How many times? You remember the Buffalo Bills? How many seconds did it take for that offense to go down the field? I mean, and you allow him to have that and get the ball back. So,
yeah, he need to let Baker bake. And he wearing out his defense with all that. He's not keeping them off the field long enough to get them a breather. So
yeah, I don't get it, Jim. All right, what else, man?
And that's about it. I try to. I like my coach, man, but he got to do better.
He's got to do better. He's definitely got to do better, and it's going to be on him. And that he's he's going to be kicking himself out the Atlanta game because he should have won that game. Whether it's an egregious face mask, you get the ball back with Devontae David 152. Your offense is not able to score, and then your defense is gassed in overtime, and Kirk Cousins throws for a touchdown. And the same thing happened tonight with Patrick Mahomes, matriculating the ball down the field. Travis Kelce, Justin Watson made appearances tonight. Again, DeAndre Hopkins was wide open tonight. I mean, it's tough to watch, and you just know it's going to happen. In your defense, you feel bad for them, but they're gassed. So, and that comes on coaching.
Yeah, he definitely need to let that offense, I don't understand why his offensive coordinator ain't in his ear to be like, man, come on, we gotta.
Yeah.
It's a little more on offense. I mean, they paying money to get this offense going. So.
Yeah. All right, my friend.
Use his offense a little more. I know.
Well, it's tough right now because you're missing 3 of your biggest weapons. Your offense did the job tonight. Your defense did not do the job tonight. Jim, I appreciate the call. Use your second one.
Hopefully, man, we get some wins in the future and get this 49ers.
It'll be nice, my friend. We'll be right there.
Won this game,
yes,
to be honest.
yes, sir. All right. Thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate you.
Later,
yep. Let's go out to Craig from Nevada. Craig, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. After the Bucs fall to 4-5, they lose in overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs, 30-24. Your thoughts?
Pete, I'm getting tired of 2 guys that got paid a lot of money in this offseason that have yet to make a play this season. And those guys are Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, listen, coming into the season, right? Well, and I told you on the sports web in the offseason how excited I was to get back Jordan Whitehead, and I'm still excited about it. But he's not the same player. It looks like he's definitely not the same Whitehead that's making plays for this Bucs team. And then Antoine Winfield Jr. is definitely not the same player he was last year because unequivocally, Leo Word, you could say he was the best safety in the game. But this year, you see him missing coverages. You see him out of place, whether it's an injury situation. You see missed tackles. I get it. Players do it. But if you're the best safety in the game and you are the highest paid defensive back, damn it, you've got to make a play when there's 3 guys around instead of trying to go for the interception. Just knock down that ball because Hopkins is so good with his hands and the ball is right there. 3 guys around there. And people will blame Todd Bowles for that. And it's like, They got pressure on Mahomes. It looked like he threw a wounded duck. It was a good enough pass to Hopkins, but you got 3 guys around. Make a freaking play. That's where it's on the players. The players got to wear that. And especially Winfield Jr.
He's got to come up and make the play.
Agree.
It was there to be picked.
Agree.
He was sitting there like a center fielder waiting for the ball to drop in his glove.
Agree.
You know what? You got to come get the ball, right? If he makes 2 steps to the ball, he's probably taken off at least 30, 40 yards down the field. And Jordan Whitehead, I see him. They show the coverage of over the middle. I don't know what he's covering. I don't know if his jersey got dirty tonight because I didn't see him make a play tonight. And he got paid a lot of money too. And another thing, Winfield, you got paid a lot of money. All right. At the end of regulation, you got to catch that ball.
Yeah. Well,
you could have won the game right there. Maybe he runs in the end zone. Maybe he gets tackled 20, 30 yards and we walk off with the field goal. But you blew one coverage, and Todd called him out at the halftime interview on TV. He said, listen, we can't just be watching the ball. We got to go get the ball.
Yeah.
And that changes the whole play. That changes that whole drive up, right? But 2 guys who got paid are absolutely awful. I mean, just you can't, I know I know Josh Hayes is bad. We get that. But, guys that got paid a lot of money haven't splashed this year. Winfield has the 1 touchdown, but that was Zion because he punched the ball out. To me, he is no help right now in the back end. And, even against Atlanta, when he went to he rolled to the triple coverage side and didn't help out on the single side. It's just, that's where part of the issue is. And listen, I'm getting tired of the communication excuse too. These guys have all been in this defense before. The communication thing has to stop at some point too. And the lack of adjustments that Todd makes throughout the game, where Liam makes a lot of adjustments, Todd doesn't make any adjustments during the game. You keep getting burned over the middle by the same play over and over again.
How many times? How many tight ends have we seen throughout the weeks? And again, you've got Greg Kittle, who's one of the best tight ends. When he could stay healthy, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. You got Bowers from the Raiders. I mean, count them up. If you're a fantasy football owner and you have a tight end starting against this Bucs defense, they're going to eat. They're going to continue to go off because there has been no answer. Again, the middle of the defense is a sieve. It is the Atlantic Ocean. It is wide open for any tight end, especially when you're giving guys free releases down the middle. You're giving Travis Kelce. You're not even giving a push off the line. You're not contesting him. We're just allowing him to go 5 yards, turn around, and catch. It's pitch and catch. Patrick Mahomes is going to do that all day long. What are you doing? And why is KJ Britt still starting for this team? Those are the questions that a lot of Bucs fans are asking right now. And those are the questions that continue to be unanswered. And it kind of reminds you of what happened last year with Devin White, where you went too long. You knew that Devin White wasn't good in this defense. He wasn't playing up to snuff, whether it was lack of attitude, whether it was want to, whether it was injury. Make the change. And I just feel like if you're not going to make this change, then your defense is going to continue on this same track where quarterbacks are going to continue to expose you. Sean Payton exposed this team. I hate to tell you, but Sean Payton exposed this team. He absolutely showed you the blueprint. And ever since Payton did that with the Denver Broncos, and I know that's week 2. Ever since that's happened.
It was week 3. Was it week 3, right?
I believe it was
right after the Detroit game.
Yeah, it was right. You're correct. Week 3. Ever since that has happened, this defense has changed. Have they had any effort? I mean, there's been, moments there with the Saints making plays, but ever since Sean Payton put the blueprint out there, offensive coordinators have emulated it, and it is an emulation league. And what that means is they're going to pick up on those tendencies. And once they pick up on your tendencies, and like you said, Todd Bowles doesn't make those adjustments, they're going to continue to keep on doing it and exposing it. And the Bucs defense, especially the middle part, has been exposed.
And another thing too, on the second Hopkins touchdown, Josh Hayes got smoked off the line.
Yep.
Or whatever. But why is Winfield 10 yards off the ball on what, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal at the 4 or 5 yard
No
line?
idea. That's a Mike Smith defense.
What are you going to do? Are you standing on the back line of the end zone starting to play?
I have no idea. Understand. Those are the type of calls where you're like, why is he playing that type of defense? And I get it. We're critical. We watch the game as sports broadcasters and as fans. We don't know the ins and outs. I understand that. But also, this is common sense. When you're playing 10 yards or 15 yards off the line, don't you think the quarterback if I can see that and Craig from Las Vegas can see that, don't you think one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and Patrick Mahomes can see that? Of course he can. And yet we continue to talk about this week after week after week, and it's so frustrating. And I understand where Bucs fans are coming from when they say you got to fire Todd Bowles. You don't do that in the middle of the season. I don't think you're going to do that in the middle of the season. What does that do? Can you fire him at the end? I think everybody is evaluated. If you told me that this defense, with all the talent that they have, and let's face it, Craig, would you say that the strongest part of this defense that you were thinking at the beginning of this year was the back end is probably the worst part of this defense? Would you agree with that? Can you believe that?
You know what? I think, honestly, in the secondary, it may be Tyke Smith who's the best player right now.
Agree. Tyke Smith has outplayed Antoine Winfield Jr. As crazy as that sounds. And I asked that kid in training camp who you wanted to emulate, and he's outplayed Antoine Winfield Jr. And you better hope, knock on wood, Bucs fans, that he's able to stay healthy and he's able to grow, because he's only going to get better and better. I think Winfield Jr. is dealing with an injury right now. I don't think he's 100%. Listen, no football player right now is 100%. The NFL is not for long league. It's a brutal, there's still a physicality to it. So every guy is banged up, but especially Winfield. And listen,
in regards to Tyke,
if
Jordan Whitehead's going to continue to play, I don't know what money's guaranteed for next year, but you know what? If there's a little to no, then cut him loose. I'd rather have Tyke play in Jordan's spot right now.
Well, I'll tell you right now, with the way this back end is played, and again, the front end is not without blame, because I continue to see JTS, and you saw a spin move tonight, but once again, just running past the quarterback, losing containment.
When Kelsey pushed him down on that one coverage play.
I don't know. I mean, you've got to do something about your defense, and maybe there's wholesale changes to come. There has to be some wholesale changes to come. You can look at positions of middle linebacker, at corner, possibly safety. I mean, there could be so many moves that could be made with this team in the offseason. But listen, the season's not over yet. You're going to have an easy schedule, but you have to correct some of these mistakes, because if you continue to make them, even versus bad teams, again, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators are going to pick up on it. Craig, anything else?
Yeah. Two things real quick. First of all, in the NFL, if they can buzz down and judge like someone's in or out, ineligible downfield, whatever, right? Kind of call.
Yeah.
Why can't they call down and fix a face mask call?
No idea.
That was not a face mask or worse.
It's not even
close. They could have buzzed down and said, hey, no, you got it wrong. There was nothing there. It was on the top of the helmet, and the shoulder pad is what he grabbed.
Sure.
That should have been that. Because to me, the ball's up to 20, 22, 23. We push back off. We got a field goal out of it, but a touchdown there, you're up 2 scores. I think it may be a little bit different game. Maybe not into the same, whatever it is. But I'm just saying, if those kind of plays can be corrected out there, that too. And another thing, and one more thing with this, I'm tired of seeing our best pass rushers in coverage. Yaya Diaby, I see him in pass coverage sometimes, and JTS too. I'm getting tired of it. Those guys were drafted and paid to rush the quarterback. If they can't do it, then they don't play him. But I don't want to see him in coverage anymore. That it's just ridiculous. If the linebackers can't cover and the secondary, you think those guys there dropping in coverage is really going to help anything? Come on.
Well, I guess you're trying to compensate for the awful linebacking play. I thought, Levante David made some plays tonight, but he hasn't been the same player. And again, you've got a linebacker in Britt who has shown once again he's not a great tackler. He's not great in coverage. So I what I'm gathering here is that the reason why you're doing that is either you're trying to confuse the quarterback or you're trying to compensate for the such terrible linebacking play that you're getting right now in the defense. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. You're paying these guys to rush the passer and you're putting them out in coverage and you're taking them away. I mean, we've seen the zone not work for them. I thought tonight with rushing 4, they got after Mahomes, but I also thought when they went to that soft zone, once again, that Mahomes made them pay, as every quarterback has made them play. And you've had, coverage breakdowns, and you continue to have coverage breakdowns because some reason guys are not getting the message across. They're not making plays. They're not in the right spot at the right time.
And no one can spy the QB on any week for Todd. I mean, Mahomes breaks out. Purdy ran pretty well last game too. He can break out and move his legs too. I understand Lamar.
We saw
you
Bo
have to
Nix.
too,
We
but
saw Jaden Daniels do it. I mean, I like to see a spy.
yeah.
Also,
you saw Kirk Cousins run for 19 yards on second.
Well,
and
don't
20.
remind me because that's a sore spot.
Come on.
You've got 2nd and 22, and one-legged Kirk Cousins runs for 21 freaking yards. Inexcusable. That defense, they got to look themselves in the mirror, and that's what it comes down to. And I'm just not sure if this is going to change. The only way this changes is if you're going to have some wholesale changes, start some players here, get away from a KJ Brick, get away from a Josh Hayes. I understand you're playing them because of the injury situation. Maybe go back to Funderburk, maybe make a trade. I don't know what the answer is, but if you don't make some changes and correct some of these mistakes, once again, it's going to continue to cost you. Craig from Las Vegas, thanks a lot for the call. Anything else, my friend?
No, I appreciate it. Let me just want to give one kudos. Liam Cohen, gosh, you are so good. I hope you don't leave the organization. Really, this guy is so good. I hope they keep him around for a long time.
I tell you, that's one of the positives.
This guy's brilliant. This guy is brilliant.
Yes.
He is a brilliant OC.
The motion,
Brilliant.
all the motions tonight with Shepard, using him on 3rd down with jet sweeps, using the running game. I mean, it's very creative. It's a lot different from Dave Canales. Let's just say that. And the offense, with all the weapons that have been out, they were good. They made some plays tonight. Again, not down the field. It's to be expected because you're missing your top guys. You don't have a Mike Evans. You don't have a Chris Godwin. You may get back a Mike Evans. But yeah, kudos to Liam Cohen for the last couple of weeks, putting together good game plans to keep this Bucs team in the game. And Baker Mayfield, good to him. Salute to him for not turning the ball over tonight. That was going to be the key. The Bucs had to not turn over the ball, run the ball to a certain degree, make plays when they needed to make, and they were able to do that. And listen, they took them to overtime. Even without your 3 top guys, you still take the 2-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs to overtime. So it's disappointing. I still feel like you go for 2 at the end of the day, but they didn't do it.
I agree with that. You always go for 2 in the row.
All right, my friend. Appreciate the call.
Right,
you said
Pete,
second
care,
call.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Appreciate the YouTube super chat, which, by the way, that's great. By the way, YouTube super chats are open. Facebook stars are open. So definitely use that and get on the phone lines if you want to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the disappointing loss in overtime 30-24 versus Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So let's go read these comments. Well, I guess we're gonna get out to the phone line. So I will read the comments. Stay patient. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Hey, what's going on, Pete?
Tristan, what's going on, buddy? I know we were talking all night long about Baker Mayfield. Give me your thoughts on his performance because, again, you look at the numbers, efficient, didn't turn over the ball, gave this team a chance to win. In fact, in the 4th quarter, leads this team down for a tying touchdown. And instead of kicking the extra point, I felt like you go for 2. What do you say?
It's 2 ways I can look at it, man.
Okay.
I can be the eternal pessimist and point out some major things about Baker, or I can say that he played good. He played a good game today.
Well, do both for me, okay? Do that for me. I always like to hear the pessimistic Tristan here on the sports web. So give me something negative here, real quick.
I'm not pessimistic as a person, Peter. I'm honest. I'm brutally honest. It hurts so bad to be honest sometimes.
That's fair, brother. That's fair.
But I will say this: we can, and I like to address some of the things being said about the defense later on, if I may as well.
Sure,
please.
go for it.
Okay, so first with Baker Mayfield, I knew, and I said it before the game started. Baker Mayfield has to outdo Patrick Mahomes to have a chance for us to win the game. And I will say this: the first half, I didn't like his performance. I'll be honest with you. Throwing the two passes to wide receivers in the first half, only putting up 59 yards. It's a lot to nitpick there. But no turnovers in a clean game, and we're in the football game with the greatest team in football the last 3 years and running.
Agree.
So I can't really say, hey, Baker's fault. But like it gets to a point where we just have to be honest with the assessment of this football team. And I know that the popular thing that everybody is saying is fire Todd Bowles.
Right.
But I mean, like, good gosh almighty, man.
I mean, I love Bucs fans, and I get tired of hearing it because you know how long I've been covering this team, how long I've been a fan. I mean, I go back to the Orange Creamsicle days, and the exciting thing out of the year was the year would be over. You would be talking about the draft, and you'd be talking about firing the coach and who you're going to hire next. And we all know the top organizations in football, the stability, the Pittsburgh Steelers, say whatever you want to about Mike Tomlin being mediocre, but that coach every year is consistent, gets the most out of his players. Why? Because the organization believes in him. They're not looking to fire the coach. They're not looking. And a lot of people were calling for Todd Bowles' job last year when he was 4-7, and he's able to pull out of it. Is he able to do it this year? We shall see. They got the talent. But the solution isn't always fire the coach. But I will say this, Tristan, you have to agree. If you continue to have some of the situations, some of the situational football come up and cost you games, especially critical games at critical moments where you panic. You should not call a timeout with that much time on the clock. Let the clock run out a little bit, and then don't let it all the way run out, but let it give yourself, don't give them any time to have the ball back. That could have came back to haunt them. And then again, simple decisions. You have too many timeouts at halftime. Why is it so hard to call timeouts? Why is it so hard to challenge plays? This Bucs fan base wants Todd Bowles to be more aggressive. I don't think and a lot of people go, well, it's because, he's got the mannerisms. He's not really aggressive. That's not what the coaching is all about. What fans should be looking at is the aggressiveness and that situational football, not to cost your team. And you would have to say the Atlanta game, that's on Todd Bowles, not just the defense, but Todd Bowles, because you're too conservative at that point. Your defense has the ball back. I get it. You get a face mask call, but you have to do something. You can't let your defense try to stand up because they're gassed. The defense was gassed in this game. You've got to be more aggressive. You can't continue to commit the same stupid mistakes over and over again and win games. And that's why Bucs fans are so upset and they're just throwing their hands up in the air because they don't believe this guy can get them over the top. And I don't want to be that guy that says, you got to fire this guy. You got to fire this guy now because the season's not over. But your defense, you're the defensive coordinator of this team. The staple of this defense is to stop the run. Did they do that tonight? No. Have they done that throughout the whole season? No. Why do you continue to have communication breakdowns? Why do you continue to have coverage breakdowns? We continue to talk about this over and over again. It's not just on the players, my friend. That's on Todd Bowles.
Well, see, football is about two things. And Jimmy Johnson said it all the time. It's about X's and O's and Jims and Joes. And truthfully, we got first year starters and Hayes and these other guys, Funderburk, these guys that are out here, and we got second and 3-year starters on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the expectation of the defense and guys to just come into the National Football League and get it, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. Now, we can easily point and say that's coaching, but let's go back to last year when people were saying we should have benched Devin White. Mm-hmm. These are the guys we were benching Devin White for.
Well, and they performed, though. Did they not? KJ Brett performed better last year as a starting linebacker, or maybe – I don't know. Maybe offensive coordinators were not picking up on his tendencies, but this year he's been god awful. He can't make tackles. Right.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Right.
But I'm speaking in regards to the expectation.
Right.
See, I'm going to give you a comparison here. It might sound wild, but it's a pretty good comparison.
Well, I'm used to your wild comparisons here, so I look forward to this, Tristan. This is our deal here. This is what we do, my friend. How many years we've been doing this together?
I say about what? Let's say about 5, 4,
Jeez,
5.
Man, it seems like 15 at this point. You're always a great caller, my friend.
You for about 15 if that's worth anything. I will say, when you got the beard, you turn heel. And I remember Babyface Peter.
Yes, Babyface Blake. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I give you a comp, and I think it's a very fair comp because both teams made the exact same decision and are in almost identical same positions. It's a 12-5 coach over the last 3 years. Each year went 12-5.
Okay.
That team is now 3-6, 3-7.
Mm-hmm.
That team is called the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm.
Do you know what that team did that we did identically to the Dallas Cowboys?
What was that?
They stayed pat on the team they had the previous year and expected to come in and yield better results.
Well,
we got
to a certain degree, I think Tampa Bay did a little bit better. You would thought, going after Jordan Whitehead, signing him, adding Tyke Smith, adding the talent, getting a second year. I don't necessarily think they stood pat to that point. Did they re-sign a Baker Mayfield? Yes, he's definitely been impressive with putting up his numbers. I get it, the turnovers are there, but he's been impressive. He's definitely given Tampa Bay every chance to win. Mike Evans, when he's healthy, which consistently he's been able to stay, but also, there's a hamstring issue. He's been highly productive. So it's a no-brainer to re-sign those guys. Levante David, look, you got to re-sign him, right? Because he played well. But, of course, Father Time is undefeated. He doesn't look like the same player, does he? He does not. So
I agree wholeheartedly. But the Cowboys went up against the same thing. They re-signed Dak. They re-signed CD. It's almost parallel to what they did versus we did. You thought that your draft was good enough the previous year, and the players that you drafted the same year are going to be good enough to hold up in the National Football League. And they're not seasoned enough to do that. Can these guys grow into what we want them to be?
Fair.
There's a possibility of that. But as of right now, the team just, on the defensive side, they're just not that talented.
They're not.
And what we're doing, and is laughable almost, is they base Dak Prescott, but Baker Mayfield, we're giving the dude can do no wrong on this team, and that's not necessarily true.
But now you listen to the wrong show, because I've said over and over again, there are times where Baker tries to do too much, and it's just, look, it's a humanistic thing. It's a humanistic instinct. When Chris Godwin is gone, when Mike Evans is gone, you're the leader of the team. You're trying to put the team on your back, but you also can't commit those turnovers, and that's come back to haunt them. We talked about that in the Ravens game. Big play there. Mike Evans doesn't catch the pass. He gets hurt. He shouldn't have been playing the game. You have an opportunity. And then on top of that, Baker compounds the issue with forcing the ball in the red zone. You have to live to fight another day. We saw that last week with Baker Mayfield. But he's trying to put the team on his back, and he's trying to do too much. And he knows that. Of course he knows that. But also that's the competitor in him. That's the gift and the curse of Mayfield. Have I ever said he's done anything wrong? I've always been trying to be fair with Baker Mayfield. Is the great thing is he gives you a chance to win, but there's also moments in the game where he tries to do too much, and instead to live the fight another day, he commits that stupid turnover, which this team right now, as they're constructed, are not good enough to overcome turnovers. That wasn't the problem with Baker Mayfield tonight. He had no turnovers, but in the past, this team is not good enough. They're not good enough to overcome that. So he has to. It's a tough thing, because it's a gift and a curse with Mayfield. It is.
Agreed. That's why I say my slogan for the rest of the year: in Baker we trust.
And Baker we trust.
Can't go anywhere else besides him. We're stuck with the guy, at least for the year, and maybe even next year as well. But I will say this, and just a little pushback on Baker. At some point, we can go back to the Bo Nix game with Denver, where he put up 180 yards. We can go back to the Kirk Cousins game where he put up 212, I believe, or 224. Like, there has to come a time you have to outplay another quarterback.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's outplaying a quarterback. What I think it is everybody wants to get wrapped up in quarterback, but it's quarterback versus the defense. It's not quarterback versus quarterback. I don't necessarily know because right now the Bucs don't have the weapons, so you can't go tit for tat. Like Tristan, I could see if you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and, of course, Jalen McMillan, you could go tit for tat. We could talk about, but right now as an offense, how many long plays did they have down the field tonight? Did you expect anything? Didn't have much. I mean, Sterling Shepard, I think, had a couple 18-yard catches. That's about it.
Yeah, we had 2 18-yard plays that went, 2 plays that went 18 yards. You have
to get more creative with your offense because of the weapons. So your defense has to do more. So that falls more on the defense versus the quarterback. People get wrapped up into, quarterback versus quarterback, but that's not what it's about. It's not about offense versus offense. It's about offense versus defense. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And even more so with this offense right now, with all the missing weapons, it's going to be tough to score points. But somehow, some way, the last couple of weeks, with saying all this, they've been able to put up points versus Atlanta, and they've been able to put up points versus Kansas City. So I think they've done their job. You're giving me 24 points, or you're up 17-10. Your defense has to make a stand. They're not able to get off the field. You score 24 points. Your defense is not able to get off the field. 24 to 30 points should be enough. And it's not, because your defense, once again, and I keep on saying this like a broken record, like a mumble rap song on the radio that you just want to turn off because you can't even understand it, and you're tired of hearing the beat because the beat is so hot and it shouldn't be, but you don't know what the hell that guy is saying. Over and over again, you're not able to get off the field on third down. And that has been the Achilles heel of this defense the last couple years, especially long third downs.
But I give you two comps. Again, I'm fair, and I agree with what you're saying, but I give you two teams that are very good comps on the situation in which we're in. Can we go back to Kansas City 4 years ago or 3 years ago, post Super Bowl with us, when their defense was the worst part of their football team?
Agree.
And they were awful on defense and then Chris Jones came on, then Karlaftis and the rest of OJ McDuffie and all those guys started to come on.
Sure.
It takes time for a team to mature into what you want it to be. Years ago, Kansas City had the worst team in football. And they had the greatest quarterback in football, too. So, I mean, that may be a wash. But I give you another comparison. We'll go up to Detroit. We go back 2 years ago when they had that young team, before they got Aiden Hutchinson, a premier pass rusher in the National Football League, by the way. Before they got Aiden Hutchinson, that defense was ranked in the bottom 10. Well, bottom 5, my apologies. They were ranked in the bottom 5. But then as those young players started to mature, and you got a premier pass rush, now they got a top 10, top 15 defense.
That's true. It's absolutely.
Like, it takes time for it to meld and for it to mesh together.
But really, it shouldn't take that much time, Tristan. That's a disappointing thing, because you have Vita Vea, who's won a Super Bowl, who performed well. Kalijah Kancey performed well tonight. You'd like to see more from Yaya Diaby. JTS, you like to see more from him, but you haven't been able to see more from him. I mean, Anthony Nelson. I mean, there's veterans on this team that have won Super Bowls. The back end, to me, is the most disappointing. People can point to the pass rush. Okay, I'm okay with that because you haven't seen a consistent pass rush. But also, I think that's an injury situation. Linebacking situation, we already talked about KJ Britt. But the most disappointing aspect of this team right now that you would have to agree with is the back end. Because Winfield Jr., you just paid him top money, whether he's injured or not. He hasn't performed well. Jordan Whitehead has been a shell of himself. And, Zion McCollum is probably and Tyke Smith are probably the only players in this back end right now that are performing up to snuff. Everybody else has been disappointing. And if you told me that at the beginning of the year, that the Achilles heel of this team was going to be the back end, I would tell you you're crazy, because you start with those two safeties. They're veterans. They've been there before. They won a Super Bowl before.
Here's a take of which you may not agree with, but it's come to bite us in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, maybe Carlton Davis he might have been just okay. These guys on the back end, Whitehead, these guys are playing with Hayes, Izzian, Funderburk, and who's the fourth guy? These guys are first and second year players, and they in order is you can either get nothing cheap, nothing deep, and they're preventing the long ball. Just everything else under 15 yards, they can't do anything with.
Well, and you're also missing tackles, and it's a slow death. And you saw that in overtime tonight. You saw the yards being built up, and once again, the middle of the field is wide open like the friggin' Atlantic Ocean. It's like the Red Sea party. Go ahead, Tristan. Anything else here on the evolution?
Yeah, last thing, if I may. Hey,
yes.
Buck, and I like to speak to the fan base, and I hope that some of you guys can listen rationally and use some common sense here. I know we don't like the way that it's looked. I know that it's give and take of the defense right now, but I don't want to get off the coach because Todd Bowles is the most consistent head coach we've had in history. His resume is better than the great Tony Dungy. Aside from the Super Bowl, it's better than John Gruden. Like, this is the best coach in Buccaneer history in the short time that he's been here. We've won the division every year. let's give a little grace and let the man do his job and see what happens.
Let me ask you this, Tristan. When do you stop giving him? When does it become a point where, and I think a lot of Bucs fans are right there right now, and I'll ask this question out to Bucs fans. When does it become a point where he is what he is, right? He's never going to change the clock situation, the clock management issues. They're never going to correct themselves. He's never going to get better. When is it time, in your opinion, that you think you turn the page on him? If they don't make the playoffs this year, and it looks like they won't make the division, we'll see again what happens. Injuries happen, so I'm not going to rule it out. But if you don't win this division and you don't make the playoffs with all the investment you did in the offseason, in your opinion, is it time to turn the page? When do you get to that point where a lot of Bucs fans are saying he is what he is? He's only going to get you so far at the end of the day.
I'm a firm believer in the old Bill Parcells thing. If you give me 2 bad seasons, you're out of that. I can get 1 bad season. That's a one-off. You give it to me a second time, that's a trend. I can't, all things being considered with the injuries, with the roster being what it is, okay. We, like, even though we don't have a premier pass rusher, we're a top 10 sack team, oddly enough.
True.
Like, with all of that being said about the secondary and whatever the case may be, we played Baltimore up good. We played Kansas City good. We played Atlanta to a standstill. We beat Detroit. We beat Washington. Like, I tend to lean more towards giving people a little bit of grace unless it's awful. He hasn't lost the locker room. These guys still believe. Right now, my personal position, I think it's a talent issue. But if it happens, if it is one season, 1 out of 4 years of a bad season, I think any football franchise will take that. 2 out of 5 years is a bad football team. Give it, like, let me see how he does this year. If he doesn't get it done this year, next year he's on the hot seat. It's as easy as that.
Well, I think it's fair to say, again, the injury situation doesn't help you when you lose 2 of your top receivers, especially Godwin, who's having a Pro Bowl, leading the league with receptions. You lose him. That definitely doesn't help. And you're exactly right. I think you have to look at that. Tristan, great call as always. Let me give you the Macho Man.
Oh, yeah.
Use that second call if you want to, my friend. As always, it's enjoyable. You bring something to the table. I like always, my friend. All right.
All right, thank you, Peter.
All right, Tristan, good stuff there. Let's go out to Frankie from Wisconsin. You're on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake.
What's going on, Peter?
I mean, what do you say about this game tonight, my friend? I mean, you have to feel you have to feel good to a certain degree, even though you lose in overtime.
I feel good to a certain degree because why is it that we can always hang with Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I mean,
the supposed GOAT in the NFL right now, Tampa Bay almost always has his number.
Well, he had their number tonight with throwing the touchdowns he had, especially on third down. I think it was like 11 for 12 or something like that on third down when it came to third down passing. And when he's able to escape the pocket. But look, they competed tonight. I'll give them that.
I'm looking at the glass like it's half full.
I get
okay?
it. I get it. I get it.
I'm being optimistic right now. Like, yeah, you could look at me like, well, we freaking lost.
Right.
I'm looking at like, dude, Patrick Mahomes is arguably considered the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Correct.
And we hang with him every time we play with them.
You beat him in Super Bowl 55. And I know that seems I know that seems like eons ago, but and tonight's game, you saw it. You even when you get pressure on him, he's still able to make plays. You got to put him down on the ground. I mean, how many times have we seen this, Frankie? The hill mark there, where he escapes the pocket. He's in the red zone. He doesn't go over the line, and he just tosses something, just a flick of his wrist or just something, a little shovel pass to make an unbelievable play. That's why he's so tough to defend for this Bucs team in any NFL defense any given day.
It's and I'm not gonna lie, parts of me looks at the season like I wonder what kind of linebackers are coming out of the draft next year. Like literally, I'm looking to see what's coming up because like I don't think we got a shot at even like making a run. There's no shot. And I'm like, well, we might as well look at next year. And that's not saying like, dude, we're giving up. It's like, no, let's make a statement. But look at, I'm looking like, what's our problem? Linebacker. What do we need to address?
I mean, is that the only problem?
Linebacker.
Is that the only problem on this team right now? I mean, you get back Jamel Dean. Is your back end solved? Do you need another safety? Do you need another corner? There'd be fans out there that would say you need both. I think you could definitely agree with that. You need an edge rusher. Is edge rusher the most important need on this team? I love Yaya Diaby. I love his potential, but has he been as productive as you would like him to be?
In all honesty, the biggest thing we need is a new head coach, but that's just not going to happen.
I mean, why do you say Todd Bowles needs to go? I mean, do you give him some grace, like Tristan said, because of the injury situation, or you just
give him some grace because of injuries? But there's some stuff where I just go, whoa.
He's just never going to change. That's where you're at this point.
I'm just like, whoa, dude. You're not in New York. You're in Tampa Bay. We don't do things like they do with the Jets organization, okay? Let's calm down.
Well, he doesn't have a winning record with the Bucs. It's been tough, and I understand where the fans are coming from, but I'm not ready to turn the page yet. And I think he definitely deserves some credit for this team still playing hard. And of course, but the for me, it comes down to the defense has not been good. And that's his call. He's a defensive coordinator. So does he relinquish defensive coordinator possibilities? Does he give that over so he can focus on being a head coach? Do you make wholesale changes at this point with this defense to change things around? Something has to change. It can't continue to be the same thing over and over again. You can't continue to see three guys around one wide receiver and not make a play. You can't continue to see Britt miss tackle after tackle. Guys make plays. And I get it. It's on the players to make those plays. It's not all on coaching.
Here's a question for you, though.
Right.
When our great mentor stepped down, did he pass it down to the right person? Should have he passed it down to Byron Leftwich, or did we get the right guy?
No, Byron Leftwich hasn't gotten a job in the National Football League. I mean, Todd Bowles was a choice.
No, that's a debate question I'm asking you.
I mean, at the time, Todd Bowles has won the division, right? I mean, you have to say, you give him credit for that. You give him credit for, having a better team than he had with Tom Brady, with all the distractions. I still think the question marks are, clock management situations. The guy's too conservative. Will he get you to just a certain point? Do you need a guy I love Tony Dungy. I've interviewed him a couple times, but this Bucs organization, they moved on from Tony Dungy at that point. Was that the right move? And their mind said it was. Why? Because the window was closing. Same type of personality, same type of mindset where you feel like this coach is only going to get you so far. So is it time to move on? Is he going to continue to commit those same mistakes? He's getting the players to play for him. The locker room hasn't given up. But do you come to that point, mindset, Bucs fans, where you say this guy's only going to get you so far? He's only an average coach or below 500 coach. That's what I'm asking Bucs fans tonight. Because, again, you continue to see the same mistakes. And, again, is it all on Todd Bowles? No, it's on the players. But that decision at the end of the game, in my opinion, is horrific. Because your defense is done, and you should have gone for the 2-point conversion, and instead you're going to be conservative, and that's why you lose the game.
We ain't had a real great coach since Tony Dungy.
I'm sorry. I think Bruce Arians was pretty good. Was he not?
No, but Bruce Arians was what? We had him for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
But Dungy was around. You know what I mean? He built the team.
I agree. I completely agree. But you've got to that point where the organization said, you know what? He can't get us over the top. So you go after John Gruden, you get over the top, you win a Super Bowl, and then you deal with the consequences.
I'll pay for that Super Bowl, but
yeah,
we bought and paid for both of ours. We got the receipt to prove it.
That's okay, man. That's okay. At least you got the 2 Super Bowls. All right. Anything else, Frankie?
I look at my best friend who's a Bears fan and go, hey, we got more rings than you.
There you go. That's what you got for us.
All right, man.
All right, man.
It was a good game. It just sucks that I had to bounce back between Raw and Monday Night Raw.
Well, I don't know why you're jumping back and forth. You should have been watching the game. You could have taped Raw, my friend. Thanks a lot for the call, man. Use that second one, all right?
All right, man.
All right, get out of here. Jumping back and forth to Raw. It was a good game tonight. It was a good game. There were highlights in this game. Rashad White was one of those highlights as he starts the scoring off. The Bucs are up 7-3. People go, well, he's not patient enough, right? He was patient on that play. He let Tristan Wirfs get in front of him, and then he saw daylight. That was good. That was one of the good plays. Cade Otton has stepped up. Again, you look at the numbers for him. Made some great catches tonight. 8 catches for 77 yards, 1 touchdown. Baker throws it to him. He gets a kidney shot. And unlike Travis Kelce, who dropped some passes tonight, he catches the ball. Goes down to the ground. The announcers think he dropped it. He catches the ball. That guy stepped up. 4 players like Evans and Godwin and McMillan who have been out the last couple of weeks. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's read these comments, and we'll continue to take calls and the solutions and what you saw tonight after this game. It's disappointing. It definitely is disappointing. But what you hang your hat on is that the schedule gets, after the San Francisco game, because I still think that's a winnable game, the schedule gets better. So maybe you can make that second half run. I don't know if you win the NFC South because, once again, you lose that tiebreaker edge with Atlanta beating you 2 times. Where if you're a Bucs fan, you're kicking yourself, especially about October 3rd's game, because you should have won that game and you couldn't close them out. And you had a chance to win last week's game and you couldn't do that either. The Bucs only have themselves to blame. The opportunities were there to close out games. They're not able to close them out. And again, do I think that's all on the players? No, because the coach knows his defense is gas. So be aggressive, do something different. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. So I'm going to go through these comments. I'm going to take phone calls, but I don't want to neglect you guys. I continue to say that. Dave, I can't believe you played zone defense the whole overtime. It seemed like it. I don't understand it. I don't understand the defensive call at all. I don't understand it. There was no aggressiveness. Again, they're just going down the field, just a slow death. Slow depth, pitch and catch, pitch and catch, pitch and catch. Missed tackle. Zone defense. Guys playing 10, 15 yards off the line. No tackling. No pressure. No pressure at all. Where was the pressure in overtime? None. 0. It was tough to watch, Dave. Megan says, they fought so hard. Sterling Shepard had a crucial catch to tie it up. Baker wanted it. This shouldn't have been a game. Just hurts deep. It does. It absolutely hurts. It definitely hurts. You know I'm right. The garbage team is done. Sad that we fooled to thinking they were going to be a great team. Just get used to it because this team will be like this for the oncoming future. Oh, and fire Bulls. I think that's what You Know I'm Right said. I understand where the fans are coming from. Again, I don't want to be one of those people that says you just fire Bulls after this game. I just don't know if he's ever going to change. Maybe he's just what he is. Maybe he's just an average coach. Maybe he's a guy that's never going to be great when it comes to clock management situations. Maybe he's a guy where the defense has regressed from last year. They're not as good as they were last year. They're not. And that's on Todd Bowles because he's the defensive coordinator of this team. Let's go out to Megan here. Winfield needed an interception. 2 near misses. It hurts. Yes, you have the opportunity, Megan, to get those interceptions. You got to make those plays. You give second opportunities to great teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to make you pay. They did. Again, you have to play a nearly perfect game versus 7-0, now 8-0. And if Mahomes can stay healthy, who's going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs besides the Chiefs? Do I think they're a beatable team? Yes, but Patrick Mahomes is an X factor. And then you get DeAndre Hopkins. Now you get a number 1 wide receiver. Let's see how he plays against the real defense. Let's see if he's an impact. He was an impact tonight. 2 touchdowns from him. A coming out party. First game as a Chief, 2 touchdowns. Right? Let's see the numbers here. Go through the numbers. Travis Kelce, 14 catches, 100 yards. And then DeAndre Hopkins, 8 for 86 and 2 touchdowns. Yep. Tough to watch. A receiver that has no impact for the Tennessee Titans. Maybe that's not his fault because you got guys like Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, who actually is better than Mayonnaise Boy there. Right? You finally got a competent quarterback and a Mahomes. Let's see here. Lucas says the offense literally put up 24 points without Mike and Chris. Right. Exactly. They did their job. Baker led them down in the fourth quarter. They were in the lead. The defense couldn't get off the field. I get it. The offense had, third and 3 and outs and everything like that. But you got to depend on your defense. If you're a defensive-minded coach, if you're a defensive-minded team, if the staple of your defense is to stop the running game, you failed tonight. Kareem Hunt just gashing you. No answer at all. No answer at all from your defense. And the offensive line is pushing you all over the place. Physicality at the point of attack, pushing you all over the place for those extra yards. And it wears your defense out. And that's why I said, coming on to this program, you have to go for that 2-point conversion. Your defense is gassed. They had no answer for that Kansas City run attack, which is scary to say the least. Because look, Patrick Mahomes, is he playing great football right now? Not coming into this game. Of course, look at this game, 34 for 44, 291, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and made some tremendous plays with his feet, especially in the red zone. It looked like a couple years ago when he was at Raymond James Stadium. Remember, Bucs fans? Flashbacks of that game. And he does that to most every team. And that's why they continue to be in the conversation as being one of the greatest teams or one of the greatest dynasties right now because of that kid. Because that guy is playing unbelievable football. And again, if he can stay healthy, the sky is the limit for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is, because that defense is pretty damn good. And if you have a defense and you can run the ball at will, and you have Mahomes as your X factor, who can make any throw and also be mobile at the same time, good luck stopping them. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web here, late night. Here after the Bucs lose in overtime, 30-24 to the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Offense literally put up 24 points. Yeah, it's a good point. David says, I'm just fed up with every third down. We got to be zone. We could have won this game just like the Atlanta game, but they gave up a defense. Todd has to change. I don't know what changed. What changes? Todd Bowles blew it. Megan says, yes, Lucas. Eric should have went 4th down, should have went for 2 to go for the win. Eric again, Todd Bowles, why we lost. Is he the main reason why you lost tonight? He's definitely one of the reasons. Your defense, again, not being able to get off the field on 3rd down. I continue to put that out there. I mean, if you want to be a top defense in the National Football League, you can't allow a team to go 12 for 18 on 3rd down, and then also 1 for 1 on 4th down. 83 total plays. And then you look at the time of possession, 40 minutes. Time of possession. The defense is done. They're gassed. You can see it at the end of the game and overtime. There's no pressure at all. There's no answer. They're done. Kansas City, with time of possession, dominated you. And you had no answer at all. Now, I don't know if that changes. I don't know. Changes have to be made. I don't know what those changes are. Is it the trading deadline? Is it benching players? I don't know what it is, because the injury situation. Jamel Dean was probably that important. I think I want to see Jamel Dean out there now. As inconsistent as he is, he's a lot better than Funderburk and Josh Hayes. Can we admit to that? I think so. Zone defense sucks. It does. Not mad at this game. The D played well as could be expected, but it would have been different if we could make plays down the field. Christopher Cole, great game, but it was difficult watching the refs too. Yes, it was. And again, we talked about it. I don't know what a face mask is anymore. Did it look like it was holding? Yes, but there were some calls tonight where, Cody Mock there gets called for holding on a long play. It doesn't look like it's holding. Even the announcer said it. I mean, you could call holding on every play. How many times do you see Kansas City and it's egregious, right? Leo Word, where you see an offensive lineman and he has a player on the outside and he's grabbing his jersey. That's holding, and you're not calling it. I saw JTS tonight being held. They didn't call it. I saw Yaya Diaby tonight being held, and they didn't call it. But they called it those critical times that changed the reflection of the game. That is what's disappointing about the NFL right now. That's why people throw it out there all the time when it comes to gambling, when it comes to conspiracy theories, especially with the Kansas City Chiefs. Who, do they get the benefit of calls? Absolutely. It seems like they do almost every week. Let's go out to Gary here. How do you not go for 2 to win the game with these stupid overtime rules? You play for the win, go for the win. Too bad. Todd, bad decision. Good stuff, Gary. Thank you for the comment. Yeah. Let's go out to KR. Evening, guys. Just a heartbreaker. This new NFL OT rule is just a joke at this point. Can we please have Coach Bowles retire at the end of the season? We need a new voice as a leader. There's this KR. This team is still playing hard for him. But yeah, I kind of asked the question to Bucs fans. When does it get to that point where you say, this is what we got in this coach, and he's only going to get us so far? When does the organization come to that reality? When does that happen? 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. And the OT rules are stupid. How does one team get the opportunity? Like, I get it. Defense, you have to stop them. But how does one team get the opportunity to score? Why doesn't the other team get a chance to score? Why isn't it like college football? Why has that not been changed? I don't understand it. Jeremiah says, everyone, Shadow is here. Thanks a lot, Jeremiah. Yeah. Let's go out to Shooter and Stash. Glad they left the game in the hands of the defense. Yeah, because that didn't work out. Brilliant coaching. Yeah, pretty much.
This guy sucks.
Good comment there, Shooter and Stash. Appreciate you. Great shooty shorts there that you did there with the animation. That was great. Also screwed the refs with the phantom face mask call that killed a probable touchdown drive. Exactly. Like, you watch the replay of that. I don't understand how that's a face mask. Did he put his hand on that face mask? Did he jerk on the face mask? No. Was he on the outside a little bit? Yes. Could you have called holding? Yes. 10 yards is a lot different from 15 yards. Big time difference. So agree. AJ, team's not even worried about us on third down because they know the middle is going to always be open. Yeah, it's a great comment. Oh, yeah. No solution at all. There's been no solution. No solution at all. Again, if you have a fantasy football team, you're starting a tight end, go ahead and start them against the Bucs defense because they're going to feast and they're going to eat. There's going to be no answer unless you make some changes. And even then, you don't know if that's going to work. I don't know what it is. It's not working. It's always open. Over and over again. Jonathan says, because we have to play the refs as well. Okay. Megan says, exactly. So many holding calls not called. The phantom face mask on Tristan, ridiculous. Yes, it is. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, yeah. AJ, this game was definitely on the refs. There were definitely some calls in this game. Change the OT rules, please. Eric says 1 4th down. Should have went for it. Joshua says, how do you beat a good team with the refs in their pocket? You don't. It's tough if you leave it up to the officials. But you knew there were going to be times in this game where, you know, it's a killer. That Tristan Wirfs play is a killer because you're driving, you get a big play from Cade Otton. It looks like you're moving down the field and it pushes you back. It's like last week, an egregious call on Baker Mayfield. They could call 15 yards and don't call it. They call Payne Durham for a phantom block where he misses the guy. He whiffs on the guy. You still call it. Inexcusable. It's time to rage, okay? They put up a hell of a fight, though. I don't see this coming. Great effort. It was a great effort, absolutely. AJ says, never should have called the timeout. Agree. Eric says, that's why you go for 2. Gary says, Casey only scores 30 points. Bucs should have won the game. Todd B, what a terrible decision. Yeah, that's definitely on Todd Bowles. It's definitely on the defense. You score 24 points without 3 of your top options, you should win that game. And they're not able to do it. AJ says we had that effing game. I agree with you on that. Oh, yeah. David says if we don't get anybody to help us with the pass rush by tomorrow, I'm kicking out the chair. We've seen that too many times. Although Kalijah Cansey has 2 sacks tonight, he shows up. Looks like he's getting healthier. Vita Vea has 2 sacks tonight, had an unbelievable game. You look at his numbers. Let's be positive for a moment, because I know it's tough to be positive and see, some of the things that happen for this Bucs team. But, Tyke Smith tonight leading in tackles, 9. You have Vita Vea with 10 tackles, 2 sacks, and tackles for losses. He was all over it. But he was also getting pushed around at the end of the game. You know why? Because the defense couldn't get off the field, and they couldn't make any plays. And Kansas City dominated them at the point of attack. And again, is that also on the offense because you go 3 and out? Yes. Yeah, it's a complete and total loss. But a lot of this is on the defense. A lot of this is on Todd Bowles. You can't blame Baker Mayfield in this offense. I think they did their thing tonight, especially with the circumstances that they had. I don't know where it's at. Again, you're going to have to give up multiple first-round picks, possibly. I know Myles Garrett. I know Max Crosby are guys that the Bucs want. We'll see, because the trading deadline is tomorrow. Election day is also tomorrow, if you didn't know. If you didn't know, yeah. Bulls' fault. KR. 2 losses in overtime. Shaking my head. Yep. Bad coaching. Eric, refs and our coach lost the game for us. Should have gone for 2. Agree. Completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
Pulling out the tequila on Monday after the heartbreaker. Well, it's 1:21 in the morning, so hopefully you're in your house if you want to drink. If you guys want to call in and talk about it after the Bucs lose, they fall to 4-5. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Everybody watching on Twitter, let's go out to Instagram really quick. As my boss is watching, he's a Jets fan. He knows they won, but it's been frustrating to be a Jets fan. If you want to take something out of this, Bucs fans, you could be a Jets fan, and the misery and all the expectations with Aaron Rodgers and all the deals that they made, and the constant losing and not winning a Super Bowl. And again, over and over again, firing a coach. Then that's not always the great move to do. Every fan wants to fire the coach. I don't know. I don't know when that move happens. If this continues to free fall for this Bucs team, then you're going to definitely have to have some conversations, and guys are going to have to be evaluated. Everybody is going to be evaluated on this team. A lot of Bucs fans would say, you don't want to miss out on Liam Cohen with the job he's done as an offensive coordinator. Tremendous job. Again, with the circumstances that have presented themselves for this Bucs team. Let's go out to Instagram Live. We'll get back to Facebook in a moment. Thanks a lot for tuning in there. Joey Deep says Todd Bowles coached an okay game. Other than that, the horrible timeout at the end of the game. The rest 100% altered the game, was inexcusable calls and non-calls. I mean, what's new? Water is wet. Hurricanes hit Florida in 2024, and the refs cost you games. The refs missed face masks over and over again. They miss it at critical times. They changed the complexion of the game. They make people think that this game is rigged, and because of the gambling aspect. Phantom call on Wirfs, missed holding calls, completely missing a false start and overtime by the goal line. Yep, saw the same thing. How does that happen? How do you miss a false start? How does the offensive lineman get off to a false start and you don't call it? Is it time to eat lunch, or is it time to eat dinner at that point, or time to tuck the wife in? Is that it? Are the refs just trying to get out of there? Beat traffic, I guess. I don't know. A lot of people would say, well, Vegas, they have the line of this and the line of this, and that's why. It's always going to be out there, especially with what's happened this year and the last couple of years. I mean, we could sit here and deny it all day long, but there seems like there's something to it. I mean, if players don't do their job, they're usually cut, right? Coaches don't do their job, they're usually fired. General managers don't do their job, they're usually fired. Why are refs exempt from this? If you miss calls, why isn't New York calling you into the office, or Roger Goodell calling you into the principal's office and firing your ass? How many missed calls do you have to have? How many egregious calls do you miss on face mask? Ask the Bucs, ask the Rams, especially in primetime moments. Seems kind of I don't know, ridiculous that we're still talking about this over and over again. And it's going to probably creep up again when it comes to the postseason, especially playoffs, when Kansas City's in there. Start firing guys. Start fighting guys. And then they won't miss calls. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to hold them accountable. Let's not hold them accountable because they do everything correctly. Every fan points it out every week. I get it. Fans are biased, but they're also pretty smart, right? Announcers pointed out also. I don't know what's going on. It's got to change, though. Because you continue to open up Pandora's box when it comes to, gambling, getting in bed with the National Football League, and you continue to see these type of calls. It kind of makes you say, right? That old song in the 90s, things that make you go, CNC Music Factory. How about that at 1:30 in the morning on the Evolution? Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Bet you didn't have that on your scorecard tonight after the Bucs lose in overtime 30-24 for the Kansas City Chiefs to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the Chiefs are 8-0. Let's see. Ed says, look, if they don't get to the playoffs, they need to think about making a change. Certainly think it's possible. He's going to have to go at the end of the year. If it continues down this road, you're definitely going to have to evaluate everybody. I'm not ready to say Todd Bowles needs to be fired, but this is disappointing tonight. I'm disappointed. You had an opportunity to win this game, put it on your offense, go for it, do something different, maybe still a win against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, and you don't do it. You go with the conservative option, which has not worked.
Shut up!
All right, Caesar says, I like to know why Hayes was covering Hopkins when he should have had Zion on him at all times. The ref no calls were blatant. We should have went for 2 before overtime. Can't disagree with that, Caesar. Agree with you.
Oh, yeah!
AJ, the bull spit refs. Yes. Eric, Bucs offense, good. Bucs defense, bad. Bad is not the best word. Atrocious, horrible, despicable, disgusting, deplorable. Look at me being a wordsmith here. What's another word you could think of? All kinds of words you could think of right now. Inept. Not even mediocre at this point. The worst. Awful. Regressed. Throw it out there. Throw it out there on the table. Hope Bucs make a trade. We'll see. By the way, Josh Hayes is terrible. Yeah, he's pretty much up there with some of the corners that I can think of at this point. And I could definitely give you some corners that have not been good in Bucs history. How about Tim Wansley on Monday Night Football versus the Colts? How about EJ Biggers? You like that name? Josh Hayes, pretty bad. And I get it. He's a rookie. So have some opportunity, but he's definitely not ready to play in the National Football League. And you don't put him on DeAndre Hopkins. That's a bad matchup. That's what good offensive coordinators do. That's why Andy Reid's a top-notch coach. He found that matchup and he exposed that matchup. Patrick Mahomes saw the matchup and took advantage of it. I mean, that's what it's about in the National Football League, matchups. Situational football. It will kill you every time if you don't have your ducks in a row. If Bowles stays, Cohen will be the next head coach of the Saints. I'm not ready to say that. Everybody's ready to go that direction. Tulio, and right now Cohen is a hot name. Let's see what he does for the rest of the year. But for right now, he's definitely going to be a hot commodity. There's going to be teams out there looking at him saying he could be the next guy. And he's going to look at it, like Dave Canales says, it's one of 32 jobs. And it's going to be tempting to do it. And the Bucs at that point may have a decision to make. Let's wait for the season to progress, and let's see where we go from there. I'm not ready to talk about firing coaches and replacing them with offensive coordinators, but the conversation may need to be had here pretty soon if something doesn't change or turn around. I think that's fair. Rob says Atlanta twice, Baltimore. Now this offense did their part in all 4 games. 3 of them shorthanded. Defense blew all 4. Every Buccaneer fan knew we had to win that overtime coin toss to have any chance. Good comment.
Oh, yeah.
As always, again, Rob, thanks a lot for tuning in here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live there on YouTube Super Chats. If you love the content, and of course, Facebook stars. I'll continue to read the comments, and then we'll get out of here for the night because I actually got to get up in the morning and go to work. And I tell you right now, I hate going to work in the morning, being on the phone and talking to people that want to yell at me and being in somewhat of a bad mood because I'm going to think about this game and say, you know what? The Bucs had a chance to win this game. So I'm going to try not to be pissed off tomorrow, like a lot of you Bucs fans out there. No risk it, no biscuit. Arians needs to have a talk with Bowles. Agree. If BA's in that situation, he probably goes for 2, right? We definitely think he goes for 2. Right, Shooter? We should have another fumble. I don't know what you're talking about on that. Joshua says should have went for 2, but after seeing the finish out, refs would have just hit us with a hold. Quick question, how many holds has KC been hit with in all Super Bowls? Have no idea at this point. Have to look back at it. But in this game, I don't want to be funny because you know that I'm not the biggest Donovan Smith fan, but I feel like Donovan Smith the last couple of years there, and he's not even playing. I don't know how many holds he had, but you didn't hear about him having lots of penalties. You don't hear a lot of penalties being called on the Kansas City Chiefs, do you? And if you look back at that game tonight, you saw many times where Yaya Diaby is being held once again, and it's not here what you look at when you're looking at holding. What they usually call, if they're consistent, is the outside of the jersey. And you saw many times tonight with that happening with players and it not being called. Dave says, the time for trades is over. They should have made 2 weeks ago. It's now play out the season with what you have. Falcons control the division. Wild card is now a long shot. Good comment. It's a sad comment, but it's a good comment.
Oh, yeah.
Players need to take some of the blame. Absolutely. This is on the players. Players are not going to escape this. Again, I go back to it. No matter if Todd Bowles is putting you in that situation, you have 3 players around the ball, DeAndre Hopkins, and he's up there in age, 32. He still can play, but you have 3 players there. Make a play. Make a play. They didn't do it. What a great game. Very intense. Congratulations to KC. Game is a game. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
AJ says, what about the false start? Nobody seems to have saw. Yeah, that was also being talked about. Lucas, the offense is doing their job. They're scoring points. The defense is absolute trash. There's another word, trash. Defense is holding the team back. Bowles needs to go and revamp. What do you revamp? Do you revamp it during the season? Do you make changes during the season? Do you relinquish defensive coordinator calls and put that on somebody else like a Casey Rogers or somebody like that? Defense is holding the team back. Bulls needs to go and revamp. I'm proud of the Bucs. They played a great game regardless. Agree. Francis, 2-point conversion. Agree.
Oh, yeah.
Call heads. Yeah, call heads. Baker called tails. Dave, it's also hard to play the refs. Again, phantom calls. Wirfs didn't grab a face mask. Carlos, is Itzy and hurt? Why was he not playing instead of Hayes? I have no idea. That's a great question. Let your best player on the field win the game for you. Don't give it back to Mahomes. That's just horrible coaching. Yes. Get it. Keep it out of Mahomes' hands, right? The defense, they were able to get off the field and go to overtime. But can you imagine if they're not able to do that because you left time on the clock? And Antoine Winfield Jr. has an opportunity to make a play there. You make a play, and the whole complexion of this game changes for the Bucs. Bulls is a statue. Josh Hayes needs to be on PS practice squad for the rest of the season. It's not good, and I wouldn't trust him at all. Call head, says Mike again. Bobby, it was holding, though. Travis, it was holding, not a face mask. Agree. How about the false start in the last drive for the Chiefs? Yes, not called.
Oh, yeah.
MH, defense has put this team in a bad spot all year long. Agree. Megan, the first touchdown for KC was insane. Holding on the offense. Jersey in hand, almost ripped. It's crap. Yes, it is. We've seen it over and over again. Again, you can call holding on every play. I get that. But when it becomes egregious, and you can say, and you don't make those calls tonight against Kansas City. How many holding calls did they get all night long? Like, it's a good point. How many penalties did KC have for the game? Let's see here. They had 3 penalties all night long. Bucs had 6 for 50. Kansas City 3 for 30. Megan says, Winfield was soft on a lot of coverage. Absolutely. Mike, I would bench the starters. Jim, call when done. Thank you very much for calling in. Bobby, Casey offensive lineman, false start on the last drive. Yes. Dave, Winfield played the ball, not going for the hit to keep D-Hop from catching it. Big mistake. Agree.
Oh, yeah.
Game on. Liam and Mayfield offense got the Chiefs on their heels, and Todd continues to not have any idea which side of the ball his team has the momentum. That's a good point. That's also a great comment. Callers blowing up the phone. They are. Absolutely. MH, defensive depth would have been nice. Don't need an all-pro, but it's tough. When you have those injury situations, it's tough. You know, you don't expect to go down with wide receivers, but your offense did the job. When you go down with corner, with Jamel Dean, who do you have as a backup? Thunderberg was not good, and Josh Hayes was definitely not good. Was even worse. I don't know what the answer is. Keenan Isaac, is that the next guy? Christian Izzian? Got to be better than Hayes. And I don't want to kill this kid because he's just a kid. He's a rookie, but he wasn't good tonight. He may get better in time. Who knows? But tonight against DeAndre Hopkins, that's the matchup you're looking at. You go into the game plan and say, I'm going to have Josh Hayes, a rookie, matched up against DeAndre Hopkins and that high-powered Kansas City Chiefs offense. Does that make any sense to you? Like, I'm not an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator and don't, try to be one. But even I know, football 101, that's not a good matchup. It's going to be exposed over and over again. That's exactly what Mahomes did. Where was it seen tonight? Trade deadline is 4 p.m. tomorrow. We'll see if the Bucs make a move. Bucs loaded up with 11 wide receivers, slept on defensive depth. Bowles was aggressive last week. Y'all still bash him. I mean, I don't know that. The aggressiveness they are going for it with the fake punt didn't make any sense to me. Going for it on fourth down, fine. Going for it on a fake punt, that didn't make any sense to me at all. What fair on this show, though, Christopher Cole? Bucs schedules week after Niners could still go 10-7. Yeah. And I said, 11 wins. It looks like they're going to have 10 wins at this point. No, Mike isn't going to be back, and San Francisco will be getting CMC back. It could be ugly. Mike COC. Bottom line, the game was lost on third down. Agree. Absolutely agree.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff, Mike. I expect your crying Jordan meme to be across Facebook. So tag me in that if you like. Any word yet when they expect Godwin back? It looks like the whole year. We'll see. At this point, it's a dislocated ankle. Not a great injury to come back from. I don't know if he's going to be back. Word is possibly if the Bucs get deep in the playoffs, maybe he's available. That's a big if. It's a devastating injury, Tim. It really is. Good comment, though. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Megan here. It's a harsh retrospective. If he goes for it and loses, it's a bad call. The coin toss is 50-50. Defense is literally their job. They get paid to go the distance. But, Megan, you would have to say that the defense was gassed. Dave says, can we say the zero blitz was a stupid call on 3rd and 7? I was screaming on that call. Yeah, it made no sense. And you got JTS on a delay. He doesn't get there. And then, of course, what does it open up? As the announcer points out, Troy Aikman, the former quarterback, it opens up that hole in the middle of the defense. Brilliant. Absolutely friggin' brilliant.
Shut up!
Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong. Todd Bowles calls defense. He lost it for us. We should have went for the 2-point conversion the drive before. We should have went for it with 4th and 1. Trying to think of the 4th and 1 call. But we know, again, that Todd Bowles is conservative when it comes down to it. That is the problem. That is the question for Bucs fans. When does it get to a point for you and this organization that he's too conservative and he can only take you so far? Dave and some Bucs fans calling Baker trash. Daniel, Todd Toilet Bowles needs to go. Daniel again, Baker's not the problem. Agree. Sarah, mad proud of the Bucs. They fought hard. 2 primetime games in overtime. Our offense never touched the ball. Still my team. Still my Bucs. Go Bucs. Absolutely go Bucs. Go Bucs. Go Bucs.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Let's go out to Dave. If Dennis was healthy, he would be starting over Britt. This is just the luck of the draw with injuries. Yes, Savassier Dennis. How important was he to that defense when he's gone out? The linebacking situation has changed. It's disappointing because he was starting to step into his own, and now you don't have him. And there's your depth. And that's what iHeart does. I've been there as well. Thank you. Chris Thomas was the GOAT that he was. Listen to him a lot with his animal sound effects. So you kind of sound, I got some of these sound effects here, right? Some of the influences are there. Got a chance to talk to Steve Dumig, the big dog, down at the Super Bowl. Gave me some advice. I applied it. And here we are on the evolution of sports talk television at 1:40 in the morning. We're about to close this out. Definitely hard to defend. Gary says next year. Anthony, they draft a top cornerback. He hasn't done that in a long time. I mean, do you need to get an edge rusher? I think edge rusher is probably more important, but you could definitely look at corner. You could definitely look at safety. You could definitely look at linebacker. Could you look at wide receiver with Chris Godwin and his impending free agency? I mean, there are so many needs on this team now. You're looking at it, right? I mean, what's the biggest need? I don't want to talk about draft, but you could get to that point where if the season goes into a tailspin, that you were talking about draft. I hope that doesn't happen. Anthony, Tampa has trended down since then. Eric, been a lot happier going out in the blaze of glory than losing to a coin toss, and they're undefeated champs. We actually had no business in the game given our injuries. When you have that talented of a team on offense to face and chance to seal the deal, you should take the opportunity, in my opinion. Good comment.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Megan. Dean is Carlton Davis Jr. Well, they both can't stay healthy. Carlton Davis hasn't been great for the Lions. He was good for this team, but he was very inconsistent. And the reason why the Bucs moved on from him is because of Zion McCollum, and he's played well. The other side, I think a lot of Bucs fans would like Jamel Dean back at this point. I believe. Okay, Sarah? A team has too many injuries. One guy not going to change things. Just have to play it out. Gary, play for the higher draft pick. Laugh out loud. Tim, definitely should have played for the win. It's better than the delayed loss. David, the third youngest team in the NFL, playing without several of its key players, loses to an undefeated Chiefs and KC and OT. People want to throw everything in the blender and hope something pours out. And I thought only in the Cleveland front office was that stupid. We go back to it, right? Cleveland, they continue to fire coaches, hire coaches, change systems, fire general managers, get rid of quarterbacks. That has absolutely killed that team. What a albatross, Leo word, of a contract they signed with Deshaun Watson, and they could have had Baker Mayfield. And now you see what happens when you're not patient, when you're not a good organization. Of course, I don't want the Bucs to become the Cleveland Browns or those trash organizations. You don't want that. Agreed. Dave, can we just blame the Bucs conditioning staff? I think you can blame everybody, but especially the conditioning staff at this point. Look at how many injuries. It's the walking wounded there. It's the mash unit in Tampa Bay with the hamstring issues and everything else. Every time you see a player go down, you're like, oh, no, not again, right? Not this.
That's good enough to suck right there.
And that's what I was thinking tonight when Yaya Diaby went down with an injury. Oh, no, here we go again.
That's good enough to suck right there.
All right, let's go out to Rob here. Sean Payton laid the blueprint years ago on how to beat Bowles' defense. Take what the defense gives you all night. Was 10 to 15-yard passes to a wide open middle field. Same old story. Craig there with the super chat. Love the show, Pete. I will call in soon. Thank you very much, Craig from Vegas. Terry says, still love my Bucs. We all do on this show.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Teresa Turner. As a Chiefs fan, job well done. Baker played well, gave all he had. Absolutely. And your Chiefs were 8-0, and Patrick Mahomes played his ass off tonight. And that's the reason why he's still one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league. Even though his numbers are not a direct reflection of that guy is something else. Chris Godwin said it best in Super Bowl 55. He is a magician with some of the things that he escaped tonight. Amazing. Megan, Rob Morgan, that cushion is trash. Terry, need a win before the bye. That would be nice. And that bye week cannot come soon enough, guys. Hopefully they can get healthy. We continue to say that, but hopefully this team can get healthy. They need something at this point. You need a big win versus the 49ers at home. You've lost 3 at home this year. It's time to pick up a win. It's time to get revenge on the 49ers. I don't know if you can do it. We'll see. It looks like Christian McCaffrey could be coming back. Say again for the people in the back. Winfield and Whitehead aren't paying off. They aren't, Megan. They're not.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to game on. Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator is very good, but the head coaching job is too much for him, and the proof is very well documented. Good stuff. Game on. Carissa, thank you very much for tuning in. Todd Bowles needs to get fired. Rob says promote Cohen and hire Saleh as the defensive coordinator. All right, Carissa, thank you for the comment. Again, I see that you are on the Todd Bowles needs to be fired. Great caller, Craig. Yep, absolutely. Always a great caller. Edwin, why was it so hard to stop a 32-year-old washed-up wide receiver? Well, he wasn't washed up tonight, that's for sure. But you're exactly right. And we'll see what he does for the rest of the season. I didn't think he would have that impact, but somehow, some way, the Bucs allowed him to go off in this game. Everyone's shadow is here. Thanks a lot. Carissa, again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to make a trade for a wide receiver. Okay, thanks for the comment. Megan, their play calling was so brilliant. Best word for it. Megan with the super sticker chat. Appreciate you. Let's go out to Bobby here. Fire Bulls. We let this game get away. 4th and 6. Yeah. He's throwing to someone from Furman. Furman, what the hell? Sterling Shepard showed out. Ott was clutch. Palmer is small and covered. He made some plays tonight. Bobby, CMC is going for 102 touchdowns. We'll see. Again, the running game's just not – run defense right now is a sieve. It's not good. And they got absolutely their ass kicked tonight by that offensive line, which is pretty good. Bowles has got to get always Bowles has got to go. It always rhymes. Let it rip. Bowles got to go. Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate you, Bobby. Britt is trash. Cut him. Megan. Devin is doing so much elsewhere. He's not doing anything at this point. Mike says you're a pro, brother. Appreciate you as always, my friend.
Ooh, yeah.
St. Pete Sports Connection there. Definitely tune into that. Do some great stuff there out at Fergs. We'll get out there to Fergs tonight. We need to trade for some wide receivers. Bring some wide receivers in here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carissa, you're going to have to trade. You're going to have to trade. I don't think that's the biggest need right now because you got Mike Evans in a couple of weeks coming back. I think you need a corner. I think you need an edge rusher. I think you need a linebacker. It's going to be tough to fill all those needs. Let's go read these comments. I don't think I'm going to take any more phone calls for the night. So thank you very much for that. I don't know what that was. Okay. Mahomes gets helped off the field injured, comes back running fine, throwing left-handed. I demand a drug test.
Ooh, yeah.
You're like, oh no, it could be an injury, right? It could be like a serious knee injury, ankle injury. No, just Mahomes being helped off the field. He's going to come on the field and win the game. Joe Tryon definitely needed more from him, but the cornerbacks, Carissa, Todd Bowles needs to be fired this year. No, not CD. Bobby, we are tired of Bowles. He's got to go. Megan, Bowles' time is next year. If nothing this year, nothing next year. David, we had to get rid of Dungy to get over that hump. Agree. No moral victory, says Bobby. Thank you. Hire Ben Johnson. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if you're going to hire Ben Johnson. I think a lot of people would hire Liam Cohen, but I'm not at that point yet where I'm ready to talk about that. But Cohen has done a hell of a job as an offensive coordinator. Tristan, once we get over that hump, we saw the playoffs twice in 20 years. I'm in my 40s and in my 20s, and that dang sure didn't want to be in my 60s next time we're relevant. Since 2015, Bowles as a head coach, 5-11, 5-11, 4-12, 8-9, 9-8. At some point, when people show you who they are, believe them. 31-51. Yikes. Although I always said, I prefaced this by saying he was a part of the Jets organization, which wasn't great in the first place. But again, if you continue to make the same mistakes and cost your team wins, with clock management issues and, of course, a decision to go for 2 at the end of the game to be aggressive, you're going to definitely have to start asking those questions and having those conversations. We need to tank for Travis Hunter, wide receiver and corner. That fills the need, right? What is he going to play? You play them both? Talented guy out of Colorado, of course. Everyone has injuries, absolutely. Jets have made the playoffs in 15 years. Can't say Bowles was the issue. Yeah, it's not a good organization. We also stopped spending money too. Well, they spent money on their own players. You don't count the John Gruden Super Bowl? Absolutely count the John Gruden Super Bowl. Bowles has been excellent support for owners, pretty good GM. Defense looks like this, very frustrating. Again, if you had on your scorecard that this defense was going to struggle and regress from last year with the talent they added and Jordan Whitehead and feeling good about Yaya Diaby going into his second year and Kalijah Cansey. I didn't have that. I think that's disappointing. And again, it's regressed. We've been here before. Last time I sold out for a Super Bowl. We made the playoffs 3 times in 20 years, won the Super Bowl. I've been in the mix the last 3 years with the playoff win. Forgive me if I'm not willing to go back to the cellar dweller with hope as a philosophy. Mark. Niners next, clean them out. Let's go Bucs. All right, Mark. Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Miss you on the evolution. Tristan, I'd be wrong not to mention how great special teams played tonight. Wasn't bad. Bucky Irving had a long return in this game to get the Bucs moving, get them in business, right? As an ex-coach of the Saints, Jim Mora would say, no more excuses, just win the damn game.
Oh, yeah.
Good comment. Let's go out to Tristan. Hayes on Hopkins with Winfield to help on Hayes. On Worthy with Ty Key to help. I get Hayes on Hopkins. Ron says, glad to see the Bucs with all the injuries still able to go in and take KC to OT, but changes need to be made. And the Marine says, I was pleased to see with all the injuries we have to go to KC OT to finish the game. So again, let's go ahead and wrap this up for the night as we are at nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. You can't fault me. Hopefully you continue to tune into the evolution, but of course the Bucs lose in overtime 30-24. Final stats for the night: Baker Mayfield 23 for 31, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a late fourth quarter drive to tie the game up. Bucky Irving 7 for 24 when it came to rushing. Sterling Shepard had a game here, 2 for 21. Baker Mayfield also with the rushing, 4 for 20. So did they do a lot of rushing tonight? No, it was going to be tough sledding. They did just enough. I think team stats for rushing for the Bucs was 95 yards. So 95 yards, again, with all the injuries, they had to have some type of balance tonight, and they certainly provided that, made some plays. Maybe not enough. You'd like to see maybe a little bit more of Sean Tucker. Just my opinion. 3 carries for 11 yards. And receiving, Cade Otton once again steps up. The tight end, 8 catches for 77 yards, 1 touchdown there. Beautiful throw to the cornerback of the corner of the end zone for Otton. Sterling Shepard, 4 for 48. Trey Palmer, 2 for 33. Rashad White, 3 for 16. Bucky Irvin, 3 for 10. Defensively, Tyke Smith leading the way. Not always a good thing when a safety leads, but he was everywhere. Once again, 9 tackles. Vita Vea had a game tonight. 10 tackles, 2 sacks. Winfield with 12 tackles. KJ Britt with 9. Levante David with 8 tackles. You go out to Yaya Diaby, 5 tackles here. Kalijah Cansey, 2 tackles and 2 sacks for the night. 4 sacks by this Bucs defense. On the other side here, Kansas City, 34 for 44 with Patrick Mahomes. Some of the things he did tonight were amazing. You just got to tip your cap and say this is the reason why a lot of people say he could be the greatest quarterback of all time. 291, 3 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, to me, was the biggest story of the night. Absolutely gashed this Bucs defense with reckless abandon. 27 carries for 106 yards, 1 touchdown, including critical drives late in the third and early in the fourth quarter. And, of course, it followed up with overtime. Travis Kelce, 14 catches for 100 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins, first time as a Chief, 8 catches for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's the cap on the stats. Once again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next will play the San Francisco 49ers live at Raymond James Stadium. Tune into the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Again, like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube, Facebook. Stars are out there. Friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake, and also tune into the JP Peterson Show in just a couple hours at 10 a.m. as he will have your recap. We will get you all recapped out on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock with the legend of self, Mr. Leo Haggerty. And, of course, don't miss Game Day because we got you covered there at What the Buck Tailgate, the pregame show, and, of course, the postgame show live from Raymond James Stadium. Another great show. Thank you, David. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
Yourself are the lifeblood. I appreciate you. As always, thank you for calling out the refs. It's what we do here on this show. I would say the 3 things, but I've got roommates sleeping right now, so I don't want to wake them up. So we'll go silent. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the sports web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. Bucs lose, but we'll see if they can get on the winning track next week versus the San Francisco 49ers. Join us live here at 9 o'clock on Wednesday night on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.